Hello. Apparently, I'm live. Wow, so much chat. So, hello, Kim. I see Kim first, but Kim's talking to Debbie. So Debbie must have put something that I can't see, and neither of them can see Renee. Okay, so hello, Renee. You're definitely there. Hello, Debbie. Oh, this is just getting sillier by the second.
And you're live.
And I'm live. Excellent. Hello, Peter. Hello, Sarah. Who else have we got? Oh, young Jonathan. High hopes tonight, Jonathan. Your comments vanished as well. It's like trying to hit a moving target. What can I say? You should see what happens with the ones like Sunday afternoon, where somebody posts and I reply and then theirs disappears and then somebody else posts and mine disappears. Like I say, we need something better, don't we? You need to all join Slack. There you go. There's the problem solved. Right, who else have I got here? Don't want to miss anybody. Hello, Graham. How you doing?
I know we've not got to it yet, but my quality's not very good.
Oh dear. We'll sort that out very soon, Mike. Oh, we have Deborah. We have Deborah. I think we're going for a full complement of Debs. Excellent. Right. Oh, Graham, there's nothing like hitting the like button before it even starts. Much appreciated. Like the one the other week who I'd got a dislike and I hadn't even started broadcasting. And I thought, well, they're clearly in the right frame of mind for this. Not. And then it disappeared. Just bizarre. Just bizarre. Oh. Let me have a look. Debbie does that too. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Have we got everybody? I think we have. Oh, wow. Kim's screen says she's got 6 minutes to wait. No, I'm here. Always refresh. It does go a bit insane with its little self. So give it a refresh. Like when I'm telling you the Andante on a Saturday night and you're 15 minutes behind. And that doesn't end well either, does it? Right. I'm going to press buttons and I'm going to hope that this works. And I also said to myself, didn't I, last week? I said I was going to make it that I could see the chat. Yeah, that's not going well at the moment, is it? Well, obviously I can see it at the moment. It's what's going to happen in a second. So if I go in there... Oh, it doesn't tell me I'm live. That's bad news. Do I actually have to Google myself? Crying out loud. Oh, luckily I've done it before. Oh, look. Somebody's live right now. That would be me.
That's not going well at the moment.
Oh, and there's me twice. Right, I can see the chat now. Yay! So I'm going to get my slides going and then we can... meet up on the blasted heath again, can't we? Right, okay. Think I've got that right. I need to press the button. That button. Yay! So far, so good. Don't like it when it's all going swimmingly well. It's usually just before a calamity. But no, we're going to keep positive with this, aren't we? There's my iMac. And I'm now sharing it with you. So hopefully, all will now go well. She said. Right, what are we doing tonight? Oh, we've got the week at MacBites headquarters. Been a bit of a week, to be honest. You'll enjoy this. Then we've got the updates. Then we have a new iWork. Not just any new iWork. No, iWork 11. Then after last week, I thought I'll just throw this craft thing in for 20 minutes. And you loved it. I've had so many mails. You want to see more. So I thought we'd get even craftier. We're looking at 3 specifics that we didn't cover last week and looking at it on the iPad if the computer's willing to play ball. So fingers crossed. Then Mike is going football crazy. But don't worry if you're not a football fan. It is all the maths of football and nothing else. Talking of maths, then we're going into Notion 2021 where we are looking at Formulas 101. We have looked at one formula before today, but now we're going to actually take a step back and see how they all work. And then there is the unboxings, plural, more than one unboxing. I have an unboxing of something that was, 1, it was on sale, and 2, I was desperate. And Mike has got more than one unboxing that he's been saving for you, which is jolly good news, isn't it? Right, we're broadcasting 1080p. I am seeing in the chat people have got it at 480.
I have 480.
It does that to me on the iPad. But we'll have to see how it goes. It's
playing with my mind.
Do we do the iPad craft? The iPad does have a craft app. It's very, very good. I did mention, without any spoilers last week, I did mention the only app I would say is even better on iPad than the desktop. Oh yes, Jonathan, unboxings. Fingers crossed you make it. We'll go at double speed to help you along a bit. There you go. Hello, Brilliant Sigma. That's a fantastic name. Hello to you. Right, so make sure you're all at 1080p. Next thing to do, it's down, the cog thing, right-hand side, is where you set the quality. And while you're there, there's the thumbs up, which would be most appreciated. So, how did our week pan out? Well, as ever, Saturday, busy. We did 8 shows, 8 music shows. Then we went straight into Marooned. And then, at 8 o'clock, as ever, we went into By Request. Last week's show was 51 weeks. This week is our birthday. Theme last week, Cops and Robbers and All Things Crime, which was fantastic. We had some great ones. We did. Then, on Sunday, it was 2-show Sunday for the 3rd week running. And we did create creative tables in Affinity Publisher. Now, I must admit, when I was putting together, what I thought would be entertaining and educational, I thought tables. And people were saying to me, oh, tables are tricky. And they are, because the stuff is all over the place. So I thought tables. But compared to blend modes or the export persona, I thought, it's probably not going to be up there. View-wise, that has had more views in 1 week than the other 2 have had in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So clearly tables were needed in some kind of way. We even did that one, didn't we? We did the Gantt chart table. Now, while that was wrapping up, it was FA Cup day here. We're not going to mention this much.
No, we're not.
It didn't end well.
Bad words were said.
I got the blame. Because in the tables demo, I said, what are Leicester doing 3rd? Well, clearly Leicester are playing incredibly well. Like 3 times as well as United did. So, no, that didn't end well, so I'm not going to talk about it. But Mike was so distraught, he took to his bed. This is relevant. Because Sunday was Census Day in the UK. Actually, Census Day. Now, normally, this has been a paper form that you fill in at your leisure. But no, it was online. Well, Mike had headed to bed so distraught with the football, we both forgot to fill it in. Which could have cost us £1,000. But fear not, you could fill it in as soon as. So, Monday, had to get up especially early to start the job. And went without incident. If you ignore me almost putting Mike down as in need of care for a mental impairment. Easily done, especially when you're in a rush at lunchtime. Seriously, if you think I'm joking, I'm not. I actually put yes for that for Mike. It's all right. It was corrected as Mike went, whoa, to stop me. Sorry about that, Mike. They really were stupid questions, though, weren't they? On the one hand, quite intrusive. On the other, not really detailed enough to be any use, I wouldn't have thought. And yet they've probably spent 10 years sorting these out, and that was the best they could come up with. Which took us on to Tuesday. I thought, right, at least we've got Monday out of the way, and we are into the week. Brilliant Sigma. Take that Leicester result off. Manchester United were tired after playing 3 games a week. Yeah, that's the usual excuse, isn't it? Or Alex Ferguson's used to be, the pitch was appalling. And to which my retort was always, hang on a minute, they're both playing on the same one. But that never seemed to bother him. That was always the ones. See, Peter says there were some very stupid questions on the census as well. All the ones about gender I was being very careful with because I thought, I don't know what I'm putting down here. I mean, I know what I am, but honestly, what are all these terms? But it did get completed and done in the end. I was a bit disappointed they've dumbed down the education bit because they used to ask you for degrees and then postgraduate degrees, which I've got now.
That was your chance to shine.
It was my chance to shine, and they wanted to know how many O-levels I had. I'm like, I don't know. And I said to Mike, do you remember when you were a kid and your O-levels were like the biggest thing on the planet? And then you reach a certain age and you're like, yeah, I can't remember what I did. And it doesn't matter. If only kids could know that. So no, I didn't get my chance to shine. I was a bit peeved. But my day soon improved because there was an iWork update. I thought, yeah, whatever. On account of the fact I don't use Pages unless I really have to. I don't particularly use Numbers unless I really had to. Keynote, obviously, I adored, but then it ate my slides. But then, as I'm thinking, not bothered, it was iWork 11. So a big update, supposedly. So we'll have a look at that shortly. But that wasn't all that happened on Tuesday. No. This happened on Tuesday. That's my billing, etc. for my mobile phone data. And as you can see, I've got 99.99 gig of 100 gig left, even though I'm 11 days into it. Yeah. That would be because I'm not leaving the house. But the thing is, when the internet goes down, and, obviously in the house, it does every now and then, we need data. And we might need more than 100 gig. If Mike's on a webinar, he will have to piggyback onto his phone. And if he runs out of data, then I'll give him mine and he can use my data. But the most important thing was, that's what I'm on at the moment. Unlimited minutes, unlimited messages and 100 gig of data. But look what it said. You can upgrade today. Oh, Mike found this. I was very impressed. It's usually me that does this. But Mike found this special offer. Very special offer. So at the moment, 100 gig data, but you can go to unlimited and it's only going to cost you £2.46 more. I'll have some of that, said I. It was the unlimited data which was obviously the thing, because there's absolutely no difference in the tariffs other than that. I probably use somewhere between 0 and 5 minutes a month on talking. I don't think I even send that many texts because most of my friends are on iMessage. It's the data. It's the data I'm paying for. But unlimited minutes can be quite handy. We were until we started using Zoom, using them to record the show, weren't we? Remember the show?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all right. Aye, Kettle. Just saying. So
I was just going to say that, but I thought I'd let you do it.
It didn't take long and I was all done. Online, even. It didn't end there. The fun didn't end there, but it's more for a MacBites that than anything else. So hold on to your hats for that. So I've got unlimited data now. We did look up what unlimited meant, because unlimited doesn't mean unlimited. No, we've been there before. My dad was on unlimited, and when he really, really needed it, when he went into hospital and he wanted to watch the football, they kept sending him snotograms saying you're using too much data. So we used to have to swap his SIM every day. We were buying SIMs with data on and then swapping them every day. So, thanks for that, O2. So I wanted to know what unlimited was before I paid for it. And unlimited is defined as 650 gig of data in a month for 2 months within any 6-month period. So I thought, unlikely to be using more than that. So we went with it, which took us on to Wednesday. Oh, it was a birthday on Wednesday. 20 years of OS 10 or Mac OS. And that is the wallpaper from Panther, which I never got to use. In fact, looking at it, I thought the cross just above the F of off looks like Windows. I wondered if there was something I'd missed with that, but apparently not. No, we joined the party some 5 years later. So it's 15 years on a Mac for us this year. Very, very soon, actually. And obviously all of this was going on, and then Madam decided that Daddy was paying far too much attention to his computer, and she told me so vehemently. Then she told him vehemently, and he still ignored her until he couldn't ignore her anymore. So she got her own way in the end, didn't she? She's just too cute. Thursday was a system day. Oh, don't go there. One of those, it'll take about a minute, and it took 45 minutes, one of those. But after it had done its update, now I go in to update my software in the Mac App Store every couple of days. I check what's new, whether it's good, bad or indifferent, and then make my mind up whether I'm installing it or not. So imagine my abject horror when it had finally finished updating its updates to find that I had 70 updates available. 70. There's no way I would have had 70 and not checked them all. But what's happening to me on all my computers is it's not telling me that there are updates in the App Store when I know for a fact that there are. So when the Affinity updates came out, I got no notification they were updated. I've had previous iWork updates, no notification. So obviously it got one on itself and boom, we now have 70 updates to update. So that was the rest of my day sorted out, except for a little job in the evening. Lola was presented with a new toy. Well, to be more accurate, it was a new towel. And she was less than impressed. But we were impressed, weren't we?
We were.
Apparently this towel, which is fairly large, I'll grant you, and it's beautifully embroidered, but she didn't consider herself lucky at all, holds 3 litres of water, which, well, you've seen how much fur she's got. We tested it to its limit, but it was very good. We were impressed. We were impressed. Which took us on to Friday. Now, something that's not happened, well, not since last week anyway, it was our Tesco delivery. Lola has long since given up looking for the lovely Wendy. It's been months. But tonight, she appeared. Oh, Lola was a happy girl. A happy Lola. So Wendy's still there. She's back. And, of course, it is To Show Friday. It's also something else. If you look at my YouTube channel, it'll say something like 87 videos. What it's not counting, and even I didn't know this, is the 216 whatevers that I've got that are unlisted. They're not private, but they're unlisted. And when we do an after hours, when it's finished, it goes unlisted. So, in the back end of YouTube, I am reliably informed today is my 300th video on YouTube. So, we better make it a good one, hadn't we? Well, first of all, something new this week. Let me know if you are a Windows user, because finally Scrivener 3 for Windows has been released. Now, I say finally. Scrivener 1 for Windows was released quite a while back. I bought mine in 2013, so we're looking at 8 years. There never was a version 2 of Scrivener for Windows, because it was a Mac app first, and Keith, the developer, had always said it was like a passion project and he was not writing it in Windows. Demand was such, though, that he had no choice, and he got another developer to develop it. So there was a version 1. Okay. Thank you for all the lovely comments. Thank you. So there was a version 1, and then version 2 came out. I think the Mac version of Scrivener was already on 2 by this stage. But they were developing, and Scrivener 3 came out. Scrivener 3 came out for Mac, and at the time they said the Windows version would follow, and I quote, in a few weeks. You may remember when Scrivener for Mac was released, but however, you might not have lived that long. So I will remind you that Scrivener 3 for Mac was released in November 2017. Which even I was shocked at. I thought I knew it was late, but are you kidding me? Anyway, it came out. Not much fanfare either. I was expecting, bells and whistles when it finally reached Windows, but no, not much. But it is available for you to buy. Now, that's important because, one, it's now feature parity as far as possible with the Mac version of version 3. So, and the other good news is for Mac users, now they've finally got that out the door, they can start working on version 4, can't they? It has the features like styles, which were not available before. It has been in beta for the best part of 3 years, though. And you have been able to use that beta if you want to use it. But obviously there were issues with it every now and then. But it is now completing the lineup. So we have Scrivener on Mac, iPad, and now Windows. I will look at that if you are interested in looking at that. The reason that I'm talking about it now is, for me, I put my details in and I got this message that says your old license entitles you to a 49% discount. I don't know why not 50. It was 49%. And I bought mine in 2013. However, Mike, who bought his way later than that, probably when you got your Surface, I would have thought, which was 2018, gets it totally free. So if you have bought Scrivener for Windows at any point in like the last 3 and a bit years, you will get a free update. The only thing that I found to be a fly in the ointment, given that I'm not a primary Windows user, is I had to do that on Windows. So you can see I'm running it in a VM, but I actually had to do the upgrade in Windows. And I don't particularly like putting credit card details in Windows and things like that. You couldn't just go to the website and buy it. You have to do it through the application. But once you've put your information in, it will come back and say to you either this is a free upgrade for you or you'll get 49% off. There you go. Right. So that's coming out. If you want to see more about it, let me know. I have done it before for the Mac version, but it was almost 18 months ago. So it could be time to have a look at Scrivener again. Let me know. Let me know if that is something that would interest you. But now let's have a look at the iWork update. The long-awaited iWork update. It does tell you when you go to the Mac App Store that it is version 11. So if you look there at the version history on the right-hand side, it is version 11. It does look different on Biggles. And I have not Bigglesed my main computer yet. So on Big Sur, it has a completely different interface. But I am still on Catalina. The stuff that's been added in Pages and Numbers seems to be the same stuff that has been added into Keynote. But Keynote has a little bit more. So I'm going to demonstrate it on the desktop for Keynote. But most of the updates, to be honest, you know, the real, like, oh, that's new, is on the iPad. So I will show you Keynote on the iPad as well. But first off, we'll have a look at this. Right, okay. So, Keynote. Not been in Keynote for a while, have I? Because it ate my slides. As we all know, it ate my slides. But when I did, these are all my files. So the last time I was in here in anger, these were where it all went wrong. Rebuild, copy, copy to, copy. When it ate my slides, this was the first one and this was bad. This was the last chance it got because it made a right mess on the 13th of November. So this was probably the last time I was in here in anger. There we go. Right. So let's have a look what we've got. We have all the usual stuff that we would have in an after hours. Now, let's imagine that I needed to present this, not as I would present it to you, which is a different way of doing it entirely. So what I mean by that is I have a magic shortcut key, which I have demonstrated before. Obviously, the shortcut key has changed because now it's PowerPoint, but I can press this key and go in and out of my presentation. It's still running. PowerPoint is still running in the background. Now, there are other ways to do that with the software that I have running, which means I could allocate it. This is going to be a bit Inception-ish, but I will show you that what I could do with the feature that is in Keynote now, I could actually allocate it to one of these blocks. So you can see there, we've got my left screen, my Mac screen, my right screen. I've got the poster for tonight. I've got the contact details. I have got the branding, which is blank. I've got picture in picture. And then I've got the webcam. Hello, on the webcam. I've got Mike's screen. So don't do anything naughty, Mike. You know, don't have anything up there that we don't need to see, even though it's the size of a thumbnail. Serenity and Angel, I haven't got hooked up to at the moment. And there is Jonathan's scoreboard as well. So what I could do is grab one of these blocks and pipe Keynote to it. And that's what this feature is all about. Now, I choose not to do it that way for a very good reason. Every now and then, YouTube makes a little bit of a mistake. We've had it where it's been out of sync. The audio's out of sync with the video by about 30 seconds, which is very disorienting. So what I want to do is put everything that you see on this main screen. And the only time I cut from this main screen is for something like the webcam or Mike's desktop. So that means in here that I just want to take that full screen and have it work. But if you were doing that in a situation where you need to see the chat, so I will say to you at times, won't I can't see the chat. And that happens if I play this file. So if I were to play this, all my screens would black out. But I can still see the chat. I can see the chat on an iPad, but not everybody is in that fortunate position. So if you remember, they brought a feature in that in addition to being able to just play this file like that, so just play it and go through the slides, there was another way to do it. You needed to go to play, and instead of play slideshow, you needed to choose play slideshow in a window. Right. And now we've got the presentation in a window. And you may also remember when I first demonstrated this, that I said to you, and it's pretty much doing it again, but let's move back. I said to you, worse than useless. Absolutely worse than useless. Because as I moved my mouse over it previously, the bar appeared at the top. So if I put this mouse anywhere, the bar appeared at the top, which is useless when you're demonstrating it. So what you would do with this is I would set either my broadcast software to just look at this window. Don't look at the rest of the screen, just this window. Even more useful is if you're doing this via Zoom or GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, anything like that. Because you are restricting what people can see to just this window. So they don't see your desktop and your email and anything else. It's just that window. Now, it wouldn't work well for me because I'm demonstrating way more than that. We're going into the iPad shortly. So there's no point me saying, well, we'll just share that window. We need to share all kinds of stuff on my desktop. But an average person could get away with giving a 10-minute presentation in Zoom with this view, if they were able to move their mouse and that bar not come up. Oh, look. I swear Timmy listens avidly to MacBites.
I'm sure he does.
Well, he should do, because I tore him a new one over all of this. Anyway, the issue that you've got now is you can, obviously you're not seeing the menu bar. If you move to the top, you do see the menu bar. You need to be aware with that to move the window, which you wouldn't need to do for your audience because they are only seeing that window anyway. But you might need to move it so you can see something behind it. So to move the window, you now need to go to the top and bring up the menu at the title bar at the top. When you move out of that, that hides away. Your mouse pointer's still there, and if you click in this window, it will move the slides on. And there's all your slides. Even better, if you right click, it goes backwards. And your mouse pointer has disappeared completely now. So now you're in a kind of presentation mode where you can go forwards and backwards and it's completely clean. Your audience is not being subjected to like a mouse pointer or a hand thing or title bars coming up from the top and navigation coming up from the bottom. It's exactly as it should be. Absolutely pristine clean. But, good, no t-shirt. Because what if you needed to jump a slide? Or what if you needed to go to somewhere specific within your presentation? Well, you can't. Now, if you think of how, well, you can, but I'll show you how. In this view, you can't. If you think of how your desktop looks when you're actually presenting with any kind of application. Jonathan, hold that thought. Yes, I'm coming to that. But if you think of what that looks like, so I'm going to leave that out of the way. I don't know if that would be in the front or behind. But if I bring back my presentation, this is PowerPoint, and I swap the displays, that's what I'm seeing. And I've got lots of stuff that I'm seeing, haven't I? I can swap the displays. I can use the slideshow. I can see my notes. I can see the next slide. I can see the time and how it's going with that. So you need access, in my opinion, to all of that. And the good news now is you've got it. What you can do is, on this title bar at the top, you have this that looks like two eyes on a robot. You now have this little beauty, which is a controller, like a remote controller, for your presentation. Now, remember what you're doing. Your audience is seeing just the one window. That's it. They are seeing just that window. You, however, are seeing this window. This is the default view. It has the notes at the bottom. So I literally cannot remember if we had... There we go. So there are notes in there and you can see them. Right, let's take that back. Oh, that's taking it on this time. Never mind. Can we go backwards? There we go, we're going backwards. Right, so yes, you can see the notes. Yes, Jonathan, my sentiments exactly. You see, this is exactly what I described that you would need if you were going to effectively use this in Zoom. As a minimum, you need to see the slide you're on. You could argue not, because you've got this big window, but you might not be able to see it. It depends. You might have that facing the audience, and you may be going online as well. So the minimum is to see both the slides and the notes, which is fantastic. You can also edit the notes in here as well. But it doesn't finish there. Oh no. If you don't want to see the current slide, you can get rid of it. So then you're just looking at the next slide. You don't even need to see the slides at all if you don't want, but I don't recommend that you do that and turn them off. So I'm going to leave both of those turned on. Oh, have we crashed it? Can we see the spinning beach ball of death? I think we might have done, you know. We might have to come out of this and go back in. Ah, fabulous. Oh, come on. I was about to big you up, Keynote. Honestly. I don't think that is coming back. It doesn't look like it. Okay, I will force quit it. No application not responding. No, it wouldn't be, would it? Oh, gotta love a demo. Right, 6th of November. Come on. We'll try it again. Right, let's get that going again. Because I had the pièce de résistance to show you at that point. Right, so in a window, make the window whatever size you like, and then click on the controller. Right, as we were, it managed to get one. Let's put the current slide back. So that's the default view. But there's another button. And now you have all of the slides that you can scroll up and down. Oh, it was book club. There was book club. Oh, and what match was it? Oh, oops, we won't mention the Arsenal match. They lost. Oh, and Boris. Look at him. There you go. His much delayed press conference. Oh, that was a press conference that we waited for 4 hours, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're going to have all these to look back on. So that gives you a way to scroll up and down and find the slide that you want. You can also, if you happen to know the slide number, actually go in. Keynote may still have some bugs. It looks like it, doesn't it, Kim? Well, let's just say what we've now got is amazing when it works. So if that happens to you in the middle of Zoom, you are not going to be happy. But, you know, I've gone to PowerPoint and I don't care. I really don't care. I just work a different way, but I appreciate the way that I work. I mean, I have gone over it with you, but I appreciate it's a bit on the complicated side. When I've said to Mike, well, you could do it this way, it's like, no, I can't remember that. There's too many shortcut keys and magic happening. But this is exactly what this should be for anybody to be able to present and use it. Absolutely. Because even if this is sat over the top of that, they won't see the controller unless you manually share that window. So all you have to remember in here is, if you're going live on Zoom, is to get your Zoom set up, then run Keynote in the play in a window option, then toggle on the controller, share the actual window that's got the slides in it, and you're good to go. You can leave all of that on the screen while you're doing all of the other stuff. So if somebody else is presenting, or if you're doing a talking head or anything else like that, and then at the point that you're ready to share the presentation, it's already sat there and good to go. I would not recommend, as you've just seen, toggling these on and off if you're in the middle of a show, because that might not work too well. But other than that, it's probably good enough. It's exactly what Keynote should have had 10 years ago. I've been doing presentations like this where there's slides and demos since 2001. And I had to find another way around it. And I went through about 4 or 5 different applications. I mean, on Windows, it was impossible. But on the Mac, I went through 4 or 5 different applications to try and make that work. Because I needed a way to go into presentation mode and then hide the application and then bring it back. So I needed one shortcut key that would do that. And I actually have one shortcut key. At the moment, I'm using a really weird shortcut key because I left the Keynote key alone and I set another one up for PowerPoint. But I have so many shortcut keys, it's actually quite difficult to keep track. So at the moment, to bring it back, it is Command, Option, Control, and star on the keypad, and that brings back my presentation. And then I can just hide it, bring it back. So I would prefer to stay with that view because it makes more sense for me. I've been doing it for years. If I started this piddling around here, I'd have to swap between, oh, I'm in my slides and now I'll manually have to swap and share my desktop, and now I'll have to share my slides. But it could be done. It could be done. But for Zoom, if you need to do other things while you're presenting, that's pretty amazing. And I know many, many people, when it comes to presenting, they are totally freaked out at the thought of sharing their screen. They are petrified that something will come on the screen, you know, not necessarily like naughty stuff, but their email or a message or something like that. So for those kind of people, this is going to be amazing when it works. But that, I think, is the best feature that they've added. And it's funny, isn't it? I said you'd need the ability to be able to move the mouse over the presentation and navigate without the bar coming up. Check. You'd need a remote control, because I said you could do this on an iPad, but what if you've not got an iPad? So you've got the navigation for both the slides. Check. Access to the presentation notes. Check. And an ability to see your entire presentation. Check. Nice one, Timmy. Bill's in the post. So that is what it looks like on the desktop. And then you need to escape that to come out of it, and then you're in your presentation. There are a few extra bits and pieces in here in terms of there's a new media centre thing and stuff that I don't use at all. But by far the biggest changes are on the iPad. So shall we try and share the iPad? How far wrong could it go? Oh, Kim says, I don't know how you remember all the shortcut keys. You can better remember cut and paste. You get used to it, and it's a physicality. If you were to ask me what that was, I'd have to look. My keyboard and my mouse are just extensions of me, and I just know where to put my fingers. But when like Michael say, what was that shortcut? And I'm like, hang on a minute, X, Y, and Z, and 8. I used to have it on a logical key of 3. When I say 3, I mean Command, Option and Control. And H for hide. And that was lovely. Only it clashed with one in Scrivener, which meant that was broken. So I started doing it where either the shortcut key is on the left-hand side of the keyboard, so I can do it with one hand, or very much not on the left-hand side. So if you think about where the star key is on the numeric keypad, but when I need that feature, my hand is probably not on the mouse. Probably not. So that's how I can get away with it. Right, let's get rid of that, and we'll do the old air server-y thing, and we'll see what it makes of it. And this is another example of me doing a demonstration and thinking what I need to actually do. You're looking at my desktop, and I want whatever I'm doing next to appear on my desktop so I don't have to do any magic beans anywhere else. So let's see how well that's moving at the moment. Right, we'll mirror the screen. Oh my, it feels promising at the moment, but you know, hold that thought because it might not be. Oh, I stand corrected. There we go. Right, Geronimo. Oh, didn't we take this full screen last time and it worked fine? That was what we did. Ah, right. Let's try that then. Okay, so I have all of my apps down here, I think. Here we go. No, hang on. Where did I put them? I shoved them out of the way, didn't I? But Keynote's there. So there's Keynote. Right. I must have put this in dark mode. I don't remember that, unless it's in dark mode by itself. There's the bagel to bacon butty. It's the only one that's left up there, you know. And that's because it's shared. Yeah. We've got one that was the master copy and one that's delivered. And yes, there is a bacon butty on the front of that. But I did create a blank one called iWork 11. Right, first things first. Should we try the not quite so interesting stuff? Yeah, we'll do that. Right, this is to do with making the thing more accessible. We had a fantastic talk yesterday on accessibility for visually impaired people, and it was fantastic. Right, so all I'm doing at this point is putting in some shapes so I can move things around. So let's get lots and lots of lovely shapes. So I've got the shapes all on top of one another, but I can tap and hold and move, and that's what I'm doing. And it is actually incredibly responsive. In fact, I'd say it's more responsive on the iPad in terms of moving them than the desktop. It seems to snap better. Now, you want to select all of those. That one's out of sync, and that's going to upset somebody, isn't it? That looks better. Right, you want to be able to select all of those. And the way to do that is to tap in either corner, any of the four corners. So I'm tapping in the top left, and as I draw around, it draws around them all, which is great. But let's come out of that. In fact, let's go back into that and move them up. So move those up there a bit. Right. And we'll put some more in and see what the problem could be. Don't know what we've got here. We've already got a plus. We'll have a minus. And we'll have another tick. Yeah, and another pencil. Right. And I'm tapping and then I'm moving them. Tapping and moving them. Tapping and moving them. Right. The problem would be if you wanted to select some of those, but not all of those, then tapping in the top left corner and dragging out means you get the lot. So you think, well, I don't want the lower tick, so I'll just tap on the lower tick. That doesn't deselect it. Right, that's where this comes in. So I've got my stuff on there. I'm going to tap, and I've got the first one. Now when I look across the menu, I've got cut, copy, paste, delete, and I've got select objects. Select objects is a mode. So if I tap on there, oh, Renee says OCD. Obsessive compulsive disorder, Renee, where everything's got to be lined up or you can't concentrate. I suffer from that, don't I, Mike?
I suffer from that.
It's like, I'm going to have to move that or I can't concentrate. Right, so I've got the first one selected, but let's go back. Let's go back. You might have missed that while I was yakking. Right, select objects, new mode. So when I tap select object, down the bottom of the screen, you can see to select or deselect an object, tap it. To select multiple objects, drag across them. Ooh, right, sounds interesting. So if I just drag across, so I cut through them, it will select it. And if you notice, it's adding to the selection. I also have the option to select all, and that will then select the lot. To deselect an option, so I didn't want the tick in the bottom, I just have to tap now. Whereas before, go on, going for the star, there we go. It can't be on a transparent bit. So if you've got quite a transparent shape, you're going to have to click on the pixels, tap on the pixels. But it will let you select and deselect in this mode. Okay. And again, like you've got the select all, you've got the done. When you tap done, it retains the selection, but you're now no longer in that mode. So if I then tapped on the star, it would no longer add that to the selection. It would deselect the rest while you're doing it. So in essence, what they've done is made it far more accessible to people maybe who are working with one hand, or they're working... I mean, you've got to hold the iPad for crying out loud, so you don't want to be doing the old hold. You can do this selection thing in all of the Affinity apps, but you need two hands on there to do it. And, you know, that leaves you holding the iPad with two fingers. So it's a totally different mode, a selection mode, to be able to do it. It works on shapes, and apparently it works on tables. Should we try it? I've not tried that. I've not tried that at all. Right, let's put a table in. Right, so if I do that, I get select objects. And apparently I can swipe between them, it said, but that doesn't look like that's working too well. Or drag across it, it says. But when I drag across it, can I drag across it from outside? No, because when I go into edit the table mode, now I'm editing. But if I drag across, that's doing no good at all. It might mean multiple tables. So if I get my table and I make that a bit smaller and I insert a new table, does it mean selecting multiple tables in that way? Let's take that over there. Right. So I'm tapping and holding on the top one, and then I'm going to say select objects. Can I just draw across the top? No, it isn't doing that either. Well, it's supposed to work. It says it works in tables. Select objects. Is that going to select the top? It's not. It's not. It's playing with our minds. But it says it does in the blurb. So that's all I can tell you at the moment. It says it does in the blurb. I'd love it if that actually worked. So we'll have to see with that. Right. What else was new in here that was worth mentioning? Oh, again, more accessibility features. So if we add in here, so we've got this shape in here. And I don't want to make multiple selections with it or anything like that right at the moment. That's not what I'm doing with this right now. If I could only tell you what was going on my other iPad. You've got Keynote open. Would you like to open Keynote here? No, I want to see the YouTube chat there. So I'll just tap on the, oh, you've moved the button. That was kind of you.
Who moved my cheese?
Exactly. No, it's just hiding the YouTube button. I'm not in a happy mood now. Oh, come on. What if I put... No. Oh, I'm not going to be able to... Oh, hang on. Got it. No. It's playing whack-a-mole with my icons. So now I'll have to do it in a different order. Right, now I've got it to say what I want. That was more difficult than it should be. Right, so I've got this thing selected at the bottom. And across the top, we have the format options. So we've got some styles and things. So we could change that from a grey to a totally different colour, like another grey. Should we have it something nice, like an orange? There we go. So we've got our formatting options in here. These are the styles. Then we have the text. So we could put some text in that shape, but we'll worry about that in a moment. We've also got the arrange option. And until now, this was pretty much hit and miss. But now you've got a size and position. So you've got the width and height on the left of that. And you've got the X and Y, which is the position, on the right-hand side. And why is this so absolutely fascinating? Because if you tap it now, you get precise data entry. So you can add that, and obviously it's set at the moment to be proportional with just the add options. Or if you know you want that 256 pixels, you can actually type it in, which you could not do before that. And there you go, it's much bigger. So that's a huge improvement, particularly for those needing the accessibility of it. But I think once you get used to that, it's eminently usable. So it's definitely worth having that there as an option. So that's if you're scaling an object. Or you want to move an object. So let's say we want to move that to position 0 and 0, which should be in the top corner, like that. Now, I used to do that in Keynote all the time. And how I would do it and why I would do it, right, is because I wanted a different background colour. So let's say we're in here. I tend not to format the background, particularly because if I want this on more than one slide, I don't want to do that. So what I would do is I would go and find a shape, and I would just want the very basic shapes, just like that. Now, you could do this by grabbing it and moving it up there, but it's not doing it too well. You have to keep going and it's not snapping. So what I was used to do, and this was easy to do, was to go into the format of it, and I knew that size-wise, this should be 1280. So let's get that back. 1280 by 720. So that's the right size. And position, I want it 0 and 0. And now I have that shape in the background. Like I say, reason that I would do that is that I want this on more than one slide, but I don't particularly want to make a master for just this. You know, I just want the colour to change, or maybe I want a gradient like that. So what I would then do is when I add another slide, and this could be like 5 slides later, I just go back to that one, copy that, go to the slide that I want it in and paste it in. And that way I've got the background. And I would do that with numbers all the time. That's why I find the one thing in PowerPoint drives me spare. It doesn't use pixels, it uses centimetres. But it's a screen app. If it was DTP, that would be fine. But I'm never going to print these slides out, it's for my screen. So I've now had to learn that if I want to put a picture in the week at MacBites headquarters, it needs to be 24 centimetres tall. And if I want it to be the size of the slide, that is 25.4 centimetres. And I just have to remember that. So that is the precise options that you've got for that. But that is also extended elsewhere. So in here, we've got the other things that you would put in, which is text. So there's our text. And now when we go to the format of it and format it as text, we've got the up and down here that will make it bigger. But you can actually now go into it, and if you know that you want it 96 pixels, then you can actually type it in, which is way faster than doing plus, 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 plus. Those are the kind of little things that would drive me to a desktop rather than an iPad. But, you know, they're catching up on the iPad. Be there eventually. Be there eventually. Okay, so we'd got our text size and the spacings, and we'd got precise controls. What else have we got? Oh, yes. Right, so in here, we go back to presentations. That's my iWork presentation. As I say, I don't have that many in here anymore because it kept eating the slides. Right, that is opening that in edit mode. And there was an issue. I thought it opened it in view mode. I don't know whether it would do that with these. And I'm not going to open them to find out. We'll be there forever. Let's try that watermark one and see what it actually does with it. No. But, now I am in the new reading view, so this is the problem. Right. So it's saying this is the reading view. So in this view, you wouldn't be able to edit it. And this is the problem. If you're in the middle of making a presentation, you're designing it, you do not want on your iPad, every time you go into it, to be in read view and not edit view. To get into edit view, you need to tap the edit in the top corner. And now you are in edit view. And you have the eyeball, which will take you back out to read view, which is fine. But if, as I say, if you're designing this presentation, you're likely to be doing that for 3 weeks and presenting it for 3 minutes, right? Then what you can do in here is you have settings. So in here, let me try and find it. Probably settings. Oh, where are you hiding it? Editing. Here we go. Open in edit view. And at the moment that's not turned on. And that's why this presentation is opening in read only view. But all you need to do is slide that across, come out of it. So let's come out of there, go back to the presentations. We'll open up that one, which is in edit view. That is in edit view by default. So if I go into here and we have a look at that, that's already got it slid on. So that's now the new default by the look of it. But if a presentation already existed, like that watermarks one, now it's opening in edit view. So I think the only time you wouldn't want it opening in edit view is probably something like this Bagels and Bacon Butties, which I'm not going to download because it's 185 meg and it'll probably kill the stream. But presentations that you've got, if the presentation is complete, so we have 2 copies of that. We've got this one on the left, 13th of April 2019. That one, it says master. You can't read it too well because it says master. Let's do it in a list and then maybe we can. There we go. So this one's the master copy. This one at the bottom is the first time that presentation was delivered. So the master copy I wouldn't want editing, and I probably wouldn't want the bottom one editing either, because that was actually delivered like that. There is another copy of this presentation and it's slightly different. The Zebedee was slightly different, wasn't it? We had a Zebedee in a presentation. So that is an example of when you wouldn't want it to be in edit mode. But if you're creating a presentation, you do want it in edit mode, and now you can actually do that. One of the other things that you can do, so let's go into our iWork 11. Right, so we've got our text in here. Right, I've no idea what this will do in terms of contact details, but you know, let's try it. Call us. And what you can do with that is you've got all of the options where you can put links and hyperlinks and stuff. So you could put a link from that to slide 1 and create internal navigation in a presentation. But you can also, in the link to type in this dialog box where it says slide, you always had web page and you had email, but you now have phone number. So you can actually in there put a number in there. I better not do this in any kind of way that it's going to ring anybody. So let's just put a number. All right. The text at the top is the text we had, or you can edit it in here, and it's going to link to a phone number. So if I do that and we get back into here, right, and I tap that, it's going to show us the settings. If you go in to present that, I have no idea what this is going to do. Oh, interesting. Right. What you're seeing and what I'm seeing are two different things, because I'm now in presenter mode. But if I tap on that, I would love it if you could see this. Can I do that from in here? Hang on. I want you to see what I'm seeing, so what can I do with that? I can't flip them round. You're kidding me. I can't flip them round. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. Honestly, life should be simpler than this. Oh, I love live demos. Right, I'm going to airdrop that to the machine that you're seeing, and I will then show it to you. That one, you don't want to send it to Mohawk, do you not? You're just waiting. Waiting for what? Oh, well done. Right, I've sent that to Mohawk so I can show it to you. So that's what it's supposed to do. Let me done on that. Because I've disappeared now, haven't I, into different areas entirely. Right, let me cancel out of that. Let me cancel out the presentation. Doesn't really want me to do that either. Right, I have it. I have it somewhere. It should be in my downloads folder. Where's my downloads folder gone? There we go. I think it sent it twice, you know, just because it could. Oh, bad words are going to be said. There it is. Right. I'm going to come out of this one. So take that out to full screen. And that's what I was seeing. So on my iPad, when you tapped the call us, it came up and with the number, and you have the option to cancel or call. So that is completely new with this as well. Okay, so let me get that out of the way. And that's pretty much the new stuff that's in there. Does that warrant an 11, a version 11? Because I'm not 100% sold on that it actually does. It's nice, but it still feels like it's quite behind in terms of all the stuff that PowerPoint can do and the stuff that they should be adding back that they took out, but they're not. So that's where we're at with it. So if you've got any questions about that, let me know. The stuff in terms of selections by dragging and dropping across and the selection mode is in Pages and it's in Numbers as well. So it's across the board. Just makes more sense for me to demonstrate it inside Keynote. Right, okay. Let me come out of there. Where we go. But hold that thought, because we're going back to the iPad later, if it's in a good enough mood to do so. Right, sling that to one side. So where are we up to now? Magic keys, in we go. And mousey on the right screen, come on. Mouse doesn't want to be on the right screen. Mouse has disappeared. Oh no, there he is. That's the one thing with PowerPoint. It's got a mind of its own when it comes to this. Right, getting craftier. Hang on, there we go. Getting craftier in Craft. Okay, so if you missed last week, brief catch up. We talked about Notes apps and the fact that there are different types of Notes apps in terms of from the very simple, like Apple Notes and Simple Note, the legendary Evernote, been around since forever. More complicated ones, you've got database type apps like Devonthink, and you've got handwritten apps as well. Craft was a new one, released not that long ago, only a few months ago. They have been pushing forward with updates like absolutely crazy. Oh, good question, Tracy. You assume it's Catalina only and above. Yes, Keynote Pages and Numbers went Catalina only before Biggles was released. So it would have been October last year. So all those updates would only be available Catalina and above. So Craft is about notes. It's a block-based system like Notion. And the first thing we looked at was the pricing. There is a free account that's free forever, but only for 1,000 blocks. So just so you know up front what price you would be talking for this. I took a 2-week trial and I've paid for the professional one. Why did I do that? And that was because I needed an offline mode that worked. That was primary that was causing me problems with Notion. And I also needed the speed of it. I needed an app that could work at the speed I was working at. And sometimes Notion, because it's a shared space, can be a little bit slow. But what I will say about that is I still, at the end of a show or the end of a presentation or the end of a job, I take the stuff out of Craft and I put it in Notion because ultimately that's where it's going to live. Would I shift to Craft totally? That's going to depend. It's going to depend on where they head with it. But as far as I'm concerned, I need to be able to do my job. And it doesn't matter to me what app I use to get that done. So I briefly mentioned last week, it started its life as an iPad app, which usually means by the time it gets to the desktop, it's shocking. But no, this one's okay. I would say it is very, very, very good on the iPad, to the point there are certain jobs that I would do with it. I would prefer to use the iPad. Oh, you never thought you'd hear that, did you? So let's take a quick recap of it on the desktop. So I think I had it there. I think I had all my stuff open in it. What I'm going to do, I am going to take a tour. Let me try and close all these tabs. You don't want all these tabs open, and then bring it on. Okay. Where did you disappear to? Don't fly past. Right. This is actually my system. I haven't set up a demo one yet, but this is totally my system. I'll give you a tour of what I've got, and then we'll look at all of the formatting, because there was some that we didn't look at last week. Then we will look at the page options. But then there's the big things like the backlinks. And the number one question I got in email this week was, well, I want to import my notes. And if I can't import my notes, then I can't do it. So I have fiddled around and I have got an import for you. So we looked at exporting. Its exports are fantastic. It's the import side of it that we're going to be looking at. Were you about to say something then?
No.
He's still awake over there. Excellent. And then there's the iPad version, and show you how I use the iPad version. So, for a tour of what we've got, I've been quite surprised that I actually have so little in there. And that's because I've nested everything. So initially, when I did the para folder thing, which is in here. So there's the para folder thing. So I'll go up to start because I haven't got any start. Right, this how to use Craft at the bottom I left alone. But actually it's probably a resource. And it should probably be in resources. That would probably make sense. And then I don't have to look at it. So all of my systems everywhere are organised via para. If it's an active project, it's going to be in the projects folder. So my work with Craft at the moment, the research that I've done and stuff, is in the Craft project. And then there's my Mad March thing, where everything to do with Mad March is in the Mad March folder. In here, this looks very different than last week because I've been working with it more. So what I've done with this is I have this Mad March admin. And that is all of the links. So I've got links for the actual sessions themselves in there. And if you look at the format of that, you wouldn't normally have it in that format in here. You would normally have this link as some kind of bookmark that you could get to. But I need to copy that as text. It could be I'm copying all 5 and pasting them in somewhere to say these are the links that you need. And these underneath are the date and time links because, you know, never ever again am I putting sessions on where we're all changing the clocks and nobody knows what day it is, much less what time it is. So I've got those in there as well. The difference that I made with that this week was I did put an emoji in the title, which means that pushed this note to the bottom of the list. And I also enabled the page view at the top. I put an image at the top. That was one of mine. It was just a slide that came out of PowerPoint, but it just finished it off nicely. So in here, all of the others are exactly the same. So I started off with the export persona. They're actually in the right order. They're in the right order inadvertently with this last one. Oh, naughty, naughty me. I just put Adobe Bridge. There we go. What I need to do is put the date, and the date is the 4th. So there we go. So it just happened to be in the right order because I've got that set up here where you can have it organised by name, date updated or date created. This one again comes at the end because it's an emoji at the beginning. So that's quite a nice way to push it down to the bottom, although in this case it would have been at the bottom anyway. And then within each of these, I actually have the content. So if we go into this one, there's all the stuff last week. That again, there's the link. There's the link formatted as a bookmark. I needed to create the timings so I can copy and paste them into YouTube. And that's an embedded page within this page. And you know that because then you get the breadcrumbs at the top. So go back to there. Then I've got the setup. So that was stuff that I needed to do when I set it up. And then I've got each demo. So each one of these is a sub-page, which can be displayed in any one of a number of ways. But it made sense to me to have it look nice. And they're nice and bright, and I can see exactly what they are. With these ones, the Gantt chart and the Premier League one, the fact that I've put the graphic at the top means that at a glance, I instantly know what that demo is. So I was thinking it would probably make sense with the Sudoku one to put that at the top. And I actually have the graphic there, so I could actually put that at the top. And then it makes it even easier. So for me in the middle of a presentation, I'm likely to have that showing on an iPad. Now, I know how to do the Sudoku. I know it's 9 by 9 and I know what size it is. I do now. But if I came back to do that demonstration with 2 seconds notice, that information is in there. And the fact that this is so big and it's obvious which one it is, gets me straight back into it much faster. And then I've got the extras at the bottom that I will be keeping and doing more demos with. But that was what I delivered that session with last week. Actually that page, and it looked like that. And it was way easier to do it. What else have I got in here? There's not much in these two at the moment. But I did make the effort and go through and put the image at the top, which is this image here. So you can choose it from a file, an unsplash image, or you can take it away completely. I don't think it's quite as engaging maybe as a Notion one, because it feels like an inline image. If we just take a swift look, ooh, crafty sneak peek at what's coming up, Notion formula, that feels more integrated with the page in my opinion than that does. But where it comes into its own, I can afford to just scroll up and ignore it in here. But when I go back in here, then I think that's way easier. I don't have to think, oh, what's that? And then behind it, there's something else. I'm looking at the text. It covers up the poster with the title of the note quite considerably. But there's enough of the poster that I can still see what that actually is. Then in my areas, I have stuff that's ongoing. So in areas, I've got MacBites. And in the MacBites thing, I've got all these episodes of After Hours. Now, this one is active and I've got it open on an iPad and I'm working from it now. So possibly that one could go into the project as being a current project, but I don't bother. I know it's in the areas and that's it. And in resources, I've got some stuff of how to use Craft, which is the one you just saw me drag in. So I would actually have that down the bottom. I've got some admin. Well, I've got one admin note, but we're about to go in and have a look about some extra admin notes. I've done some research that's in there. My YouTube stuff is in there, which is like my stats and stuff. And they are resources. They are things that I would refer to, but for reference. For reference. All right. Can you change the poster sizes? Do you mean the ones at the top, Kim, or the ones within it? Let me know. Hang on. Just let me know which ones you mean. If it's the ones at the top, I don't think you can. You can't make it like... Well, actually, that's not strictly true, is it? Hang on. Let's go in and find that one. You do have an option in the page settings to make the page itself wider. And that just makes it much bigger and in your face. That to me is too wide. I always make the pages wider in Notion, but I very seldom do that in here. I like the nice look in the middle. So you could make, yes, you could make it wider, but I don't think it does it any favours. Those are the only two settings that you've actually got with it. Right, so that's all I've got. And then in the archive, I would have stuff that I don't particularly need. So these two were transferred. Remember spaces? You can set up multiple spaces to work with other people. So I actually took the review of the year out of here, and last week we created that. So that's why they are in the archive, because anything that's shared with Mike is in there. Any stuff I'm working on my own is in here. So that's the setup that I've got. And then within there, so in the projects, let's add a new item. I'm not going to go through all of it. So new page there. This is your page title at the top. You don't automatically get the option to put the cover image there. You have to work through the options in the page. So I'm just going to put here, let's have another test page. We'll start with the text and go through absolutely every option. That at the top is the page title, and when you export it, it's going to be a H1. So when you come down in here, you could have a H1, and these are the titles. The title is a heading 1, the subtitle is a 2, and the heading is a 3. And as I hover over those, you can see it's got Control 1, Control 2, and Control 3. And they clashed with some other app that I had, and I pondered. You can in here change the key bindings. Right? There are lots of keyboard shortcuts, and you can change them. But I took the decision not to, because I felt this app was going to be potentially something that I used even more than the other application. So I changed the other application, just to be aware of what you've got there. So in here, if we've got our heading 1 and our heading 2 and our heading 3, this is one of the issues that I have with Notion. It doesn't have a heading 4 and a heading 5, but in here it does. So one way to format it is to type the text in and then hit the relevant option. So a title is a H1, and the 2 is a subtitle, and the 3 is a heading. And then it's like, oh, it's gone. Where's the rest? But in here, what you could do is use Markdown. 1, 2, 3, 4, put the space in, it converts it to a heading 4. It would also do that if I did 1 hash and a space. That's now a heading 1. So that's 2 ways to actually do it. But you could be forgiven for thinking, hang on a minute, I'm never going to get this. There's far too much to worry about with this. So let me get that back to where we were. That's a bullet, and I don't want a toggle. Right, could it be there? Let's get that back to body and be done with it. Right, so this H5 is now at body level. You could think, I wanted that to be a heading, but I've already typed it. And then you start fiddling and going back with your keyboard or using your mouse. And this is when I watch people, like Kim said, how many keyboard shortcuts I've got. I fly across the keyboard. Even watching Mike, he's like, no, don't do that. Use that shortcut key. And he doesn't know, he can't remember. But in here, you have the /, which is your friend, because it's the same as in Notion. A / will give you a menu in Notion. It will also do the same in Rome, in Obsidian. It's become the standard. / going to give you a menu. You don't even need to know where the headings are in there. But clue, heading styles. And when you go in there, you've got them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you could do it that way by actually applying it. You could type the word heading and then press enter. That would solve the problem, only it's not the right one that we want. So let's put heading again. Now actually it's picked that up, hasn't it? We want a 5. So we should actually put strong, and then it will give you the right formatting. So it's just different ways to do the same thing. I find I use it one of 2 ways. I either put the markdown thing in, so I put the hash and then follow it by the text that I want, or I do it at the end if I've forgotten, including, oh dear, I needed that to be red. And it's easy in here to do. It's a lot easier than Notion. You've got these colours across the bottom, but there's other ways to do it. So just let me come down here with your 3 headings, and then you've got your content. Strong being basically a H4, and then there's body text, and finally a caption. So if in here we had put, so let me go get a graphic. No, we don't want that graphic. Let's take that graphic. So just put an image in. And then underneath the image, I want to put like when that was. So let's say it was, if I could spell, August 2020 that was. Now, that doesn't look bad. It's plain text, but it doesn't look like it's explaining the graphic either. And that's what this last one does. You make that caption, it pulls it up slightly and it makes it smaller. So then you've got a caption underneath the image. Right, then you've got your groups. So this would probably make more sense if we actually put some text in. So let's say that I'm going to do a demo. Now you've seen that I've got demos in here. I had like this one. No, not that one. No, we need this one because these steps are easier. So I'm going to copy those onto here. So let's say Sudoku puzzle. Right. And I know that I want that to be a title. So we'll make it like a heading 2. Why did you not move to be a heading 2? Oh, what are you doing? Oh my. I'm having fun tonight, aren't I? Sudoku. Right, let's try again. Do you not like the words? Is it something that I said? That's better. Right. Then underneath that, I've got the actual instructions, and those are the instructions. Right. A couple of things I can do to make it look better for me to follow along with that. One would be to indent that, so I can see that that is part of the Sudoku puzzle instructions. Another thing I could do, and we talked about this last week, is you are not limited to one type of formatting in here. So I could make that a toggle and a heading 2. That's so good. Oh, that is so good. But you're not even limited to just that. So let's undo that. Right, so say what I have got here is a title, and I've got this information at the bottom, but this very much relates to the fact that it's a Sudoku puzzle. So if I take the whole lot, you actually have two options here, and it's the next group down. So we're working down this panel, page or card. Now, a page can be created. In fact, there's a page already there. You look at this Sudoku puzzle here. Next to it, there is already an arrow. But all it was text. I didn't create anything, so what's the arrow? Well, it actually allows you to create content that belongs to that line of text. So the Sudoku puzzle text then becomes a page in its own right. And each and every one of these blocks has the same option. But we've already got this here, so that we need a fast way to do this. Right, grab the whole lot. You just use Command and G. It makes a page for you, and it moves everything into that page. This was how I started with this outline in here. So all of these started a similar kind of way. And I just thought I want them formatted this way because it's easier for me to instantly see it. I can see the running order. I can see what the demo data looked like. Sometimes I've got a memory of what an image looked like, but not a clue what the demo was. So as soon as I see the image, I'm like, gotcha. I might think, oh, I did a demo, I did a red eye demo, but what did the image look like? But when I see the image, I think, oh, that was the red eye demo. So having these like this is really great. So that's one way to do it. But this is then treated as just a block. It's still just a block. You use the arrow next to it, there's the content. You've just made it a sub-page of the test page. Same information is still there. Even better than that, you can make a page a card. And there is a shortcut for that, which is Command Shift and L. Don't know about the logic of L for a card, but just remember it. You click that and then you get taken into here where you can create the more highly designed look that you might want. So say with that one, mine was the most orange, was that one that I picked. And I know it's garish and in your face and I love it. I find Notion very pale. By comparison to that, that's very pale. So I had all of that in here. First thing I did was turn it into a page using Command and G, and then I made it more highly formatted by making it into a card. Then to access it, all I need to do is go in and enter it, and there's all my information. You can carry on then in here doing whatever you need to do. So let's just say that this add the first row of numbers, because that's as far as I needed to go. The rest of it just follows. And I want to draw attention to that. So we've got the usual that you would expect. You've got the ability to make it bold or italic. You can strike it through. You've got the option here to draw around it, so it's like highlighted in that way. You could change the bullet point. You can go as far as you want with this, honestly. That puts the bullet point back. You can make it into a numbered list, so you could do the whole numbered list thing. So if we undo the hideous stuff we've done, grab the whole of these. You can make them toggle. You can even toggle the toggles on and off. What else have we got? You can indent. So if we take one of these, you can indent it and you can outdent it. And as you indent it, you can see it actually changes from a square to a circle to indicate that this is now a subtask of the task above it, the parent task. So very, very, very great options in here in terms of aligning the text. You can center it, which might look fantastic if we go up a level and we grab this, which was our caption, and then change that to the center underneath an image. So very nice. Or you can right align it if you want it right aligned. So let's get that and right align it. I think it looks better in the center. Okay, now back in here. Good grief, what have I done with this? Did I sit on? Oh, I centered it, didn't I? Let's get that back. And we'll get that back. Okay, and to indent it, you can use Shift, outdent it, Tab, outdent it, Shift and Tab. Right, you've got two more options that I don't think we touched on last week. So let's say these applying the border things. Let's say I want to draw my own attention to it. That apply the border thing, I want some attention on it. You have two options. You have a focus, which gives you this little bar at the side, usually used for a quote. So that's one option. If I wanted that one and then that one with the focus, that makes sense. It would probably make more sense in a paragraph of text, to be honest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lose these so you can really see that it's highlighted on those two there. You can also go in and change the colour of it, and that changes not only the text but also the bar to the left of it as well. But let's take that back a bit. You're not going to do that. Okay, we'll make that black. If I make this one in the middle black, it might start to look a bit strange because you're going to have line, 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 and it's going to start looking like, cut here. So if we're on that one and we apply the focus, it merges the three together. Because they are next to each other, it merges them together. If you then take another one and make that a focus, it will take all the lines, which I think looks really nice. Right, that's the focus, which will give you a line. There is another option. So let's grab this and take the focus away. The other option you've got is to make it a block. And making it a block puts a background on it and gives it a little bit more breathing space around it. So again, we do the same thing and make those two a block. You can see that you've got this very pale background on it. But you also know that sometimes you can colour things. And that changes not just the text, changes the background as well, which I think is pretty nice. So I'm going to change these back to black and grey, just to show you when you click in the middle one and you make that a block, it glues those together as well. So if I add this bottom one and make that a block, it moves it in slightly and up. Now, you have these as well, so I've grabbed those, and you can see that the two in the middle don't have the spacing, because what it's doing is it's considering those internal elements of the block, and the outside ones are where the spacing is. But you can hit focus as well as have it in a block, which then, if you had all of these and you wanted to really make it stand out, you could do, and I think that does look really nice. So maybe it's 4 or 5 steps that you want to highlight, and you can have them any colour that you like, which is great. I love that to remind myself to do something in one of my demos. So we've looked at the decorations, focus and block. Let's come down and look at colour. You might think, well, colour's colour, isn't it? It changes the colour of the text. So if I have all of that selected and I make that purple, oh, look, it's purple. Indeed it is. And it's more obvious on the iPad app than it is on the desktop app that that's not where the colour options end in here. Most applications like this for notes, I mean, I remember a while back, Evernote took away the opportunity to change the colour. It was like, really? Really? But what they've done in here is they have given you 11 colour car parks, little colour wells in here to choose from. But when you have one selected, like this green one, I mean, I love green on my stuff, but that green is not the green I'm used to. I mean, that's more aqua cum kingfisher. It's not the green that I'm used to. So if we made these green, maybe you'd see what I mean. Not really the green I'm looking for. That actually looks better on there because the text itself is darker than this one. This one is not that dark. This one's darker because it's on a background. So that green, not bad, not perfect though. I'm going to make that a title so we can actually see the colour. Because the 12th option that you have here with the little down pointing arrow gives you an opportunity to create a variant on that. So you have the lighter greens on this side that are more fern coloured, or you have the deeper ones over there. So I could choose a variant of that colour, and now that is much deeper. It actually looks like it matches this one far better. So all of the colours work exactly the same way. So if we choose the purple and then choose the variant over here, you could make that a deeper purple, very deep purple, or bright pink. Why? But you could. Same with the red, to be honest. Now you can choose any of these colours without having to choose the red first. So if I wanted a very deep red, I can actually choose that. I don't have to come out and then go to red and then go back in here. You can choose any of these colours. It just gives you way more colours. So whereas that one looks like it'd be okay for MacBites, you might want something darker like a brown. So those are the options that you have available there. The final options you've got in terms of what you can do with text is the fonts in here. So you have your system font, you have a serif font, if you prefer it all curly, which I don't. You can have a monospaced font some people actually like that. I like that for code, but other than that, I wouldn't use it. Or you can have a rounded one, which just looks like Arial. So I stick to the system. I think the system one is spaced out just about right, but you do have those options. Right, other options are page defaults. So I had to select that text to change the default font. But if I come in here and I do it, I'm doing it at page level and it changes all of it. I can see that some people might like that one, but it's just not for me. Right, this is also where you decide whether you want a cover image or not. So if we go back to our test page and we go in there, and I have newsletter in Affinity Publisher, which was the one that's at the top there. So we've seen that. I'm going to turn that into going back in here to a card, which I'll choose that one. And with it being Affinity Publisher, I do tend to use the orangey thing, with it being Affinity Publisher. So one of these, probably that one, which is not quite so in your face. Right, and then I can double click and go into there. And to get that at the top, I need to turn on the show page cover, and then it's literally drag and drop. Or you can go in there and look at Unsplash. So if I went into Unsplash, and then I can search by putting in newsletter and see what it comes up with. Not bad. You might go for this one, might even go for that one. You wanted something more old-fashioned, could go for that one. So you've got all of these options, but I actually had a poster. So I'm going to cancel out of that. And I have the poster over here. And I'm going to drag it and drop it up there. And it's that simple. It's still loading it, but it's very quick in terms of giving you some kind of render of it. Right. I have the title showing, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So that is something maybe you could take away. And you can show the author if you want to see the author, which most of mine, I don't bother. It might make sense in things that are shared, but pretty much Mike's going to know if he did it or not. So I don't bother with that. Does it save that new chosen colour as a default? What do you mean by default, Renee? if I choose a colour and then I go into the next line, it seems to go back to black, which seems to be standard across the board. It doesn't change the colour car park here. So if I choose a different colour, so like bright blue, and come in here. Oh, actually, that one, well, was that there to start with? Let's choose the pinky one because that wasn't. No, what it does is it leaves that at the end. So if I put some text in there and then come down to the next row, that is then black. But if I wanted to format that, I would actually have to go back in and then choose that. With that there, though, this one is showing you what's actually on it at the moment. It would be nice if there was like an extra row that was configurable, but no, it doesn't. Right, so we were in here, weren't we? Yes, I know it's terribly spelt. How's the girl doing?
She's fine. Been out.
Hmm?
She's been out.
Lucky girl. Right, so we were looking at the page options. So I just done the cover image. Now you do have options for block spacing, and the options are dynamic or classic. Now to do that, we're going to need to copy and paste some stuff in, aren't we? So let's go back to in here where we can copy that. Then we've got some correct information. So that's what dynamic looks like. It's a subtle difference if you go to classic. It's ever so fractionally closer together. So I danced between the two and thought, no, I can't see a difference. So I pretty much left it at dynamic. Now it is saying it's easier to read and it looks great. Better for longer pages or content you might want to share. Whereas this one is like, it goes with what you do with it. So whether you want a list or something like that, a list might be better, tighter spaced. But bear in mind, you're doing this, it's block spacing. So it's spacing between any type of block, not just text. So I haven't changed that. I've always left it at dynamic. You can have a wide page, as we saw, which has a knock-on effect of making this wider, but it's also had a knock-on effect of, as I call it, scunthorping it, which means it's cropped the top and bottom off to fit the space, which might be dangerous depending on the words on the screen. The other thing is, unless you're actually writing prose, most of the stuff that I tend to put in here is fairly short. And now I've got this swathe of empty space. And unlike Notion, where obviously the answer in Notion, multiple columns. I don't have multiple columns in here yet. I'm sure it'll come, but not there yet. Okay, so I would personally change that back to regular. I just think it looks a little bit better. I'm also, everything I do on the desktop, I'm thinking, what will this be like on the iPad? Because I want the iPad to look as similar to this as possible, so it's an easy switch for me between the platforms. Then you can have your spelling in any one of a number of languages, but that is a premium feature, as are the stats. And the most useful stat, to be honest, is the reading time. That is actually quite useful when you're writing up prose for some kind of post. That is useful. Now, it says full document. What does that mean? As opposed to what? Well, this page that we're looking at, this page here, if we look at the breadcrumb, this is a subpage of the test page. So full document means the top level. So what that would look like if we look at the review of the year is the full document would take you 30 minutes to read it. This page would not take you that long, 4 seconds, because there's very little text to read. You'd get the same options if you went down into here. So we've got all of that, the full document, 30 minutes, but this page of it is 3 minutes. So I'm on May, but the full document is referring to the parent of the parent of the parent, depending on how much nesting you've got going on. From the very top level down, how long would that take? Is there a block counter somewhere so you can keep your eye on your blocks? Yes, there is. If you go into your preferences, it's in here somewhere, I think, diagnostics or somewhere. It should give you, there we go, blocks used and storage used. That's scary, isn't it? Nearly 2,000. I don't think I've got that much in here. I guess I have, because I've got the review of the year in there and there's 3 of those. And you're looking at quite a lot of blocks in there, like 500 blocks in one page. But the essence, the issue with that is when you look at it here, that, you know, each one of these is a separate block. Now, I could start fiddling, which people used to do with Notion, but I haven't got time. It's a time thing for me. Just pay the bill and then I can get on with what I need to do. But yes, your block count is in your preferences. So that's what you're seeing in this information at the bottom there. Right, so we've done all of those, and have we done all our page options? We have. Now, the one thing that I didn't talk about last week, although we did actually see it in action, was backlinks. Who uses backlinks where they are now? So if you are in Evernote, you could use a backlink. It's not an automatic one, but you could create a backlink. If you're in Roam, Obsidian, Notion, do you use backlinks? Now, first off, you might need to know what a backlink is. It's a live link to another location. So, for example, in Mad March over here, Mad March. Right, in the blend mode thing, this is my timings and cheat sheets, etc. Right, in here, somewhere, and I don't know where now, I actually put a hashtag. Right. Let's say this. Well, let's say I'm trying to think because I don't want. There's two options for using it, and I don't want to confuse you between the two options. When people talk about backlinks, in Roam, Obsidian, and all the others, it's an automatic link to somewhere else. And the backlink part of it means it's bi-directional, because obviously you can create a link in Evernote. I've been doing that since it started in 2008. But it wasn't like fancy backlinks then. I can create a link in Evernote from page 1 to page 2. But when I get to page 2, there's no link back to page 1. That's the issue with it. A backlink tends to mean bi-directional. So if we look at this in here, I happen to have in my resources, in my admin, a page called Blend Modes. Now, there is nothing on it in terms of, let's hide that, there's nothing on it in terms of text. Nothing. But it says links to this page 3. So let's show those. So somewhere in here, in my Blend Modes, how they work and what you can do, you can see I've put tags in and I've put a tag of blend mode. And if I click on that, it will take me to research blend modes. And here's all the research that I did for the blend modes. So this link at the top where it says tags is going to link me to this page. And the links at the bottom are the backlinks that will link me back to where those originally were. So let's try. Hello, Paul. Let's try something that will be even more obvious than that. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of all these. We've got far too many open. We will go back to Mad March. And given the look of this, we don't actually need an index, do we? Okay. Because it's obvious, there they are, right in your face. If you'd chosen maybe to have that as lists, maybe an index would be easier. But if you've got more of these, more and more sessions in here, the more sessions you put in, the more value what we're going to do next would have. So let's say I'm going into this one. And at the very beginning, I want to put in the word tags. And then I want to put some tags in. So what's this going to be tagged as? Well, it's Affinity Publisher for a start. So I'm going to @Affinity Publisher. And I don't have an Affinity Publisher one, so I can create it. In fact, if I just go to that, I'm interested with that actually. Let's take that out and do that again. See what happens. @Affinity Publisher. Right, it does give me an opportunity to create Affinity Publisher, which is this one here, create. So I'm going to create that and now have a hashtag of Affinity Publisher. I will put a space in. What I'm doing is thinking about how I might want to tag this. So another thing I might want to do is put in the Affinity suite of apps. So any Affinity app. So it's to do with the Affinity suite as well. And I might want to put other things in like tables, but one thing I definitely want in there. So at Mad March, this was a Mad March presentation. Again, I could link to a document, but this is my tag, so I want to create a document. Okay. Oh, Paul got stuck in the Wendy's drive-thru. We had Wendy tonight. Wendy came tonight. So I'm going to create Mad March. So what I've got here is one hashtag. So there's one, there's two, and there's three. Now I said hashtag. A hashtag, a tag. But unlike most of the other applications where you put a hashtag in first, you use an @ here to mention or create a tag. So on that principle, if we go back to our Mad March and we go to the blend mode one, let's do exactly the same. So we put in the word tags and then we start @ mentioning. Now this one is Affinity Photo, which needs a capital P. So I'm going to create, oh, it didn't like that, did it? It said Affinity P. Do I actually need to be on the other side of it? Oh, how clever. Right, so there's my Affinity Photo. I would probably hashtag this blend modes as well. So at blend modes. Now this time I don't want to create it. I want to find the one that is blend modes. So I'm going to choose blend modes up there. It is an affinity one. So at Affinity Suite, and there's my document. So I will click on that. Do I need any others? I do. I need the last one, which is Mad March. So there's Mad March, and all I have to do with it is click on it. And so forth. So I would go back through all of these. There's Adobe Bridge. Get Adobe Bridge up, down there. We need the word tags. This time, very different. This one is going to be Adobe Bridge. I don't think I'm going to have that many Adobe Bridge things in here, but I might have lots of the other ones, so I don't know. But we'll create it anyway, Adobe Bridge. And I need to create it because it doesn't already exist. I might want to put on it Digital Asset Management, and that definitely doesn't exist, so we'll create that as well. But it's also part of Mad March, so I'm adding it as Mad March. And what I've now created is bidirectional links. So I'm in Adobe Bridge, but I'm going to click on Mad March. That takes me to the Mad March page. And there's nothing there. This is for me to type in. But the links to the page at the bottom, these are the things that I actually have linked to this page. So all of these were sessions that were in Mad March. Okay, so there's the Adobe Bridge one, which will take me straight to Adobe Bridge. That one will take me straight back to where I've come from. So it's automatic bidirectional linking. That's all that's involved with backlinks. So that's one way to do it. There is another way to do it, which is I could have gone the other way. And what I mean by the other way is on a Mad March page like this, I could actually have put links to all of the other sessions. So it's like creating a dashboard or an index. It doesn't matter which way you do it. You could start with one page and link out to all the others, or you could start with multiple pages and then link to one like I've done here. The only issue that I think you would need to think about if you did that is when you go back and look at your pages, where are they? Where did it put all those extra pages that I just created? You go to your inbox, oh dear, they're all in the inbox. Oh, I don't want them there. But it doesn't matter if you move them. So Adobe Bridge, Adobe Photo, Affinity Photo, all of these, as far as I'm concerned, are admin pages. I could put them somewhere else, but at the minute, I don't want them flying around with me looking at them thinking, what's that? When all it is, the blank page is there to represent the tag. So what I do with them is put them in the admin block in there. And the one that was in there already was blend modes. And if I open any of these, they will show me a link, all the links to this page. So if I'm thinking to myself, let's say Affinity come out with their new app, their wonderful digital asset management app, then I can go in here and I can think, right, what sessions have I done before on that? and they'll all be linked in here because I hashtagged them. So in essence, it's a way to create an index. Right, so that's the backlinks. Now, the number one thing that you all said to me, lots of emails, I can't use this if I can't import anything. And direct imports, not there yet. Shall we just say not there yet? But I have a dirty hack. I always have a dirty hack, and this is one of my dirty hacks. So what I'm going to do in here is, it doesn't really matter where I put them in here, because you're not starting with this. You do have the ability here. Obviously, we looked at the exports, they were stunning, but we do have imports. But there's only two types, a markdown file or a text bundle, one or the other. Other than that, you can't do it. So we potentially have an issue if we're coming from Evernote. So let's get into Evernote, which may or may not open and may or may not open over here. I have created a notebook specifically to export, and I've picked 3 distinct things that are complicated. You know, if it could get these out and put these into Craft and look good, I'd be surprised, right? Oh, Peter says my mind is the equivalent of deep blue. Is that good? Is that good? Right, so I've got 3 articles that are quite highly designed. I have to hashtag them, and they're in my little notebook here. Right, so we know that we've only got 2 options when it comes to import into Craft. Right, I can export the notes. Well, that's a start, isn't it? Bearing in mind I'm going from Evernote to Craft. Right. All I need to do is choose the right ones, oh dear. The only format Evernote will export is an Enex file, which is an Evernote export file. Now, luckily, Enex became a standard, which means if we can get it to Enex, something will be able to read it. Sadly, not Craft. But that's where the dirty hack comes in. Don't panic, it's free. So I'm going to save this Enex file as my notes. Let's save it as Evernote notes. Right, I've only taken 3 just for speed. It doesn't matter. Right, it's complete. Do you want to? No, I don't. Go away. Right. So Craft sat there, sadly, a bit on the dumb side at this stage. There's no way I could export that or import that into Craft. It won't do it. But who has heard of Bear? Bear is a notes app from Shiny Frog, and it's free. There is a paid version, and I do have a subscription to this, Bear Pro. It doesn't actually say what you get, but it was nothing exciting other than I took it on for the Clipper. But there was nothing that you could use this for what I'm about to do totally for free. Because Bear is very savvy when it comes to importing. So if we say import from, one of the options is Evernote. That's handy. So I choose Evernote, and it understands the Enex format. And if you look at that bit at the bottom there, we're actually getting a preview of what's inside an Enex. And all it is a text file in a certain format. It's an XML file, which means it self-describes. It says this bit's the title. So if you actually, you probably not be able to see that too well. If you look at that there, it says what the title is. And then there is a when it was created. Then there is a when it was updated. So all the information, including the tags. So that bit there, those are the 3 tags. So we know that all of the information is in that Enex. We just need to see that Bear will actually import it. So let's import the notes. And Bear's very quick. Right, what Bear has done. If we go to the notes, there are the 3 notes. If we look down a bit further, all of the tags have come in with it as well. Oh my, all 4 tags. Right, so this one, everything has come in. The links have come in. In Bear, they are red with a little chain icon. The images have come in. It's fabulous. Even the hashtags have come in. Here's the hashtags at the bottom. Amazing. But we didn't want it in Bear, did we? Bear's the conduit we are using to get this to do exactly what we want. So now they're in Bear, I can export them. Awesome. This is like your friend that can't speak Italian, but your other friend can. So you do like a three-way translation. So what I've got on here, hang on, need to make sure I've got all of the notes selected. That's better. File, export notes. And this has multiple export options. So it could take them as text or markdown, text bundle, bare notes, rich text, PDFs, HTMLs, Word files, graphics, task paper, or even an EPUB file. Right, but we know that Craft only supports two, markdown or a text bundle. Which one should we choose? Well, it's offered as text bundle automatically for a reason. Markdown is plain text, and we know that all of these articles have got graphics in them. So Markdown will strip out all of the graphics. Text bundle won't. A text bundle will retain the text and anything that was embedded in it, hence the name bundle. So choose text bundle, and it says export attachments, so it's going to take everything that's with it, and I'm going to export them. So I'll make a new folder, and I will call that from Bear, so we know where they actually came from. Right, and then I will export them to the From Bear folder. And then you are done with Bear. So you can close Bear down. You can delete Bear at that point if you want. Because what you've now got in here is 3 text bundles. So you have 1 file, article, bundle for each article that you had in Evernote that you exported to Enex, that you imported into Bear, and then exported into a text bundle. You can see from that icon, if I turn on icon view, that text bundle is set on my system to open in Ulysses. But I don't want it in Ulysses, obviously, so we're going to forget that. But we are going to go into Craft, and we'll make it that we can actually see what's going on. Right, so we've got our inbox here that at the moment has 2 pages in it. Right, we will go to File and go to Import, and these were our 2 options. You have to tell it what file types you're looking for, but they are a text bundle, and they are from Bear, and we want all 3 of them. Now this could be 3 or it could be 200. It doesn't matter. And then open it. And it has a look through it and it brings them in. It creates a folder called Imported Notes at the bottom with, guess what, the imported notes in them. So as I open that, there is the actual article and you have lost nothing. Nothing at all. Everything is there. All the links are in there, the whole thing. So after last week, which was a bit disappointing, it's not direct, you can do it. You can do it. This is why, Mike's going to get very shifty at this moment. This is why I have applications set up on my Mac, all logged in, configured, sync into iCloud, and don't use them. Because something like this might happen, and then I think, okay, I'm going to need to go to Bear. And Bear is part of my toolkit, but not necessarily something that I use on a daily basis. Craft is very, very, very new, and they can't put everything in it at once. And at the moment, you're kind of waiting for more in terms of the import. But I can understand they've not prioritised Evernote because Evernote don't know where they're up to, do they? So the thing with Evernote is they're in flux themselves. We don't know what's going to happen with the export from Evernote going forward. And I think until we do, I think it's a wise move for them to just leave that alone and focus on the things that are in their control. In the meanwhile, there are ways to do it if you know how to work with Bear. Right, mindful of time and multiple unboxings, I'm going to take the executive decision to look at Craft on iPad next week. How about that? And then you can strut your stuff with Excel and your footy.
Okay.
Like that idea. Excellent. Right. So, just going over really again, it's block based. It is fantastic. The iPad's even better, but I'll show you that next week. Promise. I only went for the offline mode and the speed, but it tempted me to use it on the iPad. I know pricing wise, I don't find that expensive, but some people might. And I appreciate on the top of all the other subscriptions you've got going, maybe you would consider that too expensive. Depends what and how you're using it. We already pay £200 for Notion. Mike hasn't taken Craft at the moment. but I've been able to add him to my account. When I say add him to my account, I've shared stuff with him, and it's not saying there's more than 1,000 blocks you need to pay. We will keep an eye on that and see what happens with it if we push it over the 1,000 blocks and see what it says. But at the moment, there's only me paying for that because I'm throwing things together all week. And it's actually easier to do it on the iPad in Craft than it would be Notion. So for me, it was worth it. Right. Was it me that mentioned football stats and you ran with it, Mike?
I think it was.
So Mike is going football crazy. This follows on from last Sunday's event where I did the league table. And I said to Mike, how much of this could you automate if you were doing it on a regular basis? So, yes, he's football crazy. Let me know when you're ready.
I need to press record.
Yes, do press record. I press record.
Aren't you good?
I am good. I'm very good.
Right. Okay, I'm ready.
And guess what? We can actually see your live screen this week.
Good. Okay. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a dynamically updating Premier League table with some basic stats. So what I did is I looked around the internet for a league table, a Premier League table. Now, theoretically, that should be really straightforward because there's loads of sites out there where you can get the Premier League table. Simplest one is actually the BBC website, but there is specific stuff that I wanted, and it took me an age to find what I needed. And I've actually ended up using two websites. One of them is this site here, EPLreview.com, so English Premier League Review is what it stands for. And the reason I did that is because in the demo I want to show this week's position compared to last week's position. So I want to show whether the team has moved up the league or down the league or stayed in the same position. So I basically did a Google, found this site, so I'm using this one. But the other one I wanted to see the last X number of games in terms of won, lost, drawn, and that is actually available on this Premier League page from the BBC website. You can see there the last column is showing won, drawn, 1-1. Or it is for United anyway. Won't look at any of the other teams.
I wouldn't, you'll cry.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to combine both league tables, and I'll show you how I do that. So the first thing is I'm going to copy the URL for this first website, then go into Excel, start a new file, and use our friend Power Query. So data from web, paste the URL in, click on OK. It will go away, it will analyze that web page, and it should find, well, I was going to say it should find one table. It's actually found three. The first one, called document, is really just a page descriptor. The second one here, I think contains the data that I want, and the third one is another table from that web page which doesn't contain the information. So it's this one here that I want to use. Now I know that I'm going to have to do quite a lot of data transformation, data tidying up. So I could click load, but I'm just going to go straight to transform data. That will open up the query editor. And I'll sort this out, and then I will, when I close the query editor, that will stick it into the spreadsheet. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the columns that I want. And one option you've got, which we've looked at many times before, is to right click each column heading and click remove, just for the columns that you don't want. But another option you've got is to go to choose columns, and that way it just gives you a list of all the columns, and you can untick and tick the ones you're interested and not interested in. So in this case, I want the POS, which is position, so that's current position. I want LP, which is last position, so last week's position. I want the team, played, won, drawn, lost, goals scored, goals against, and goal difference, which is there, and points. So I'm not interested in a breakdown of home and away. I just pick the ones I want and click on OK.
Paul wants to know, is Power Query Windows only?
Power Query is indeed Windows only. Power Query and Power Pivot are Windows only. I actually did a Power Pivot webinar the other day, and I got asked exactly the same question. They were using a Mac, and they wanted to know if it was Windows, if it was supported on the Mac. And I said, well, I'm using a Mac. You can see that from the Apple icon at the top. But Power Query and Power Pivot are Windows only. So I then explained about parallels and virtual machines and all that.
I remember when we first got a Mac, and it was like, you can put parallels on it, it'll run Windows. And I was like, yeah, right. You know, Windows runs badly enough to start with. When I actually tried it, I thought, go on, you know, suspend your disbelief. When I tried it, I was blown away. So it is actually viable to do that if you want to do it.
It is.
I mean, I do my weekly job in Microsoft Publisher, and you live in Excel in a VM.
Yeah, I mean, the VM runs pretty much 24/7. I know at work we're not allowed to do that because of licensing, but that's why I carry 2 laptops around with me, I guess. 2 laptops and an iPad. And an iPhone, yeah. I've got an iPhone 5 in the bottom of my bag.
I know, that's never charged.
No.
And it's not in a case either.
No.
It's the only iPhone I've ever seen that's not in a case.
Yeah, I bet it won't turn on, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to rename these columns. So I'm going to keep POS as it is. I'm going to keep LP as it is. But team... that can stay as it is. Played, that can just change to 1. That can change to drawn. That can change to L for lost. That can change for F for 4. That can change to A for against. GD can stay as it is for goal difference, and PTS for points. So just for anyone who's not familiar with the typical headings, instead of GS and GA, which is goals scored and goals against, the traditional headings in the well, probably the world football, but certainly English football, is F for 4, so goals for, A for against, goals against. GD is goal difference, so it's the number of goals the team has scored minus the number of goals the team has conceded, and that's your goal difference. And then points, there's 3 points for a win and 1 for a draw. Now you'll also notice that on row 1 and row 2, it thinks that those headings which have actually come from the web page, because the headings have actually been split over 2 rows on the web page, it thinks that that's actually data, and it's not. So I need to remove those 2 rows. So I will click on remove rows, remove top rows, and choose 2, because I want to remove those top 2 rows. The next thing I need to do is change these columns to be numeric. You'll notice they've all got an ABC next to them. So although they look like numbers, they're not being treated as numbers. So if I select all of them, that's it, or at least all the ones with numbers in, and then I can go and change the data type up here to whole number. There we go, and they all actually change in one go. Next thing I'm going to do is create a custom column, and the custom column is going to be to show the position change. So we've got this week's position. So City are top of the league. They were top of the league last week. United was second, and they were second last week. most teams haven't actually changed position, but you'll notice Liverpool, for example, they are 7th this week, but they were 6th last week. When I did this last week, when I was testing it, they were actually 8th and moved up to 7th. So there has been some games during the week, which does prove that this is live data.
Despite the fact that you and I both forgot England were playing last night in a World Cup qualifier.
Yeah, well, I'm not interested in the World Cup.
England just disappoint us constantly, that's the problem.
So do United.
True.
But there we go. Yeah, so what I want to do is I want to show whether a team has moved up the league or down the league or stayed in the same position. And the way to do that is to generate an extra column which shows LP minus POS. So if the team was 6th and it's gone to 7th, then they've moved down 1. If the team was 8th and they've moved to 7th, they've moved up 1. So I'm doing it that way round. All right, so I'll go into add column, custom column, and I will create a column which I will call position change. And just get the spelling of that right. There we go. And the formula for this will be LP, so last position, minus POS, minus position. So I'm just double clicking on those column names to get them in the formula and click OK. And it's come up with an error. Why has it come up with an error?
Playing with your mind.
It's playing with my mind. Okay. Shouldn't have come up with an error. Let me just change that to a whole number. No, it's still coming up with an error. Okay, let's go back into that formula. LP minus POS. Nothing wrong with that. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that. Oh, hang on. I know why. I didn't change those two columns to be numeric. So just like Excel, you can't subtract text. Got the same problem here. So I'll make those two numeric. And with a bit of luck, oh, it's still showing us error. Why is that still showing us error? Do I need to do a refresh? Okay, let's delete that step, which deletes the column, and just try it again. So we've got, hang on, those two have gone back to whole number, back to text, right. Let's change that back to whole number and try doing that formula again. So add column, custom column, call the column position change, and try the formula again, which was last position minus position. Click OK. That's better. Okay, so what it's doing is it's showing whether a team has stayed in the same position, whether they have moved up. So this team here, whoever that team is, number 6, they've moved up 2 places by the look of it. Yeah, Tottenham, they were 8th and now they're 6th. And let's look at one with a minus. There we go. I think that was Liverpool. They have moved down the league 1 position. They were 6th and now they're 7th. Okay, now I don't need that LP column, so I can remove it. So I can just right click and remove it. Once I've actually done the formula's still there. So once I've done the formula, I can remove the column. Obviously, don't remove the column before you've done the formula. Then the next thing, that's it actually. That's all I want to do. So let's come out of the query editor, file, close and load. And there is the league table. I'm just going to do a little bit of tidying up. I'm going to take the filter buttons off. I'm going to align those headings to the right so they're lined up with the numbers, because guess what? My OCD is kicking in now. So I want the headings lined up with the numbers. Have we got any questions? Let's just go and have a look.
No, we're talking about cases on iPhones.
Okay, fair enough. Now, for the position change, I don't actually want to see it as zeros and minuses and pluses. I actually want to see it with little icons to represent those numbers. So what I'll do is I'll select those cells and go to conditional formatting, icon sets, and I'll use this icon set here because that's kind of universally accepted as the icon set that shows increase, decrease and no change. So I'll select that one. At first glance they do look right, but they're not all right. The first one that springs to mind is that one there. That should be showing a green one because it's a positive. That should be showing a green one. And the reason is that if I go back to conditional formatting, manage rules and edit that icon set, it's using percentages, which is a default setting where I want them to be numbers. And also I want it to show green when the value is greater than 0 and the default is greater than or equal to 0. So show it green when the value is greater than 0, show it red when the value is less than 0, show it yellow when the value is exactly 0. And also if I tick that box to say show icon only, it won't show the numbers. So we now have the position change shown graphically or visually rather than as numbers. But what I also want to do is I also want to show, as I mentioned before, not only the position change visually, I also want to show the last 5 results for each team, but not the actual proper results. I want to show it as a little coloured block. Green for a win, red for a draw, red for a defeat, yellow for a draw. And as I said to you before, I found that information in this table here on another website. So what I'm going to do is create a second query. So just copy that URL, go back to Excel. I think actually before I do, no, I'll create the second query first. So I'll go to data, then from web, paste in the URL. That is the table there that I want to use because that's got all the data in it. Need to tidy things up a bit, so I'll go straight to transform data. Now the first column is the position and I want to keep that. The reason I want to keep that is because I can then link it to the position column in the other table. But you'll notice that this doesn't have a heading, so if I just double click and type in pos, it doesn't have to have the same name, but I will give it the same name. That way I can link this table to the other table. I don't want to keep this column, so I can remove that column. And I will also, I'll just keep all of those columns. But what I do want to do, this is the key column here. This is the important one because this is going to give us the little yellow, red, green blocks based on the last 5 matches that the team has played. And if you go back and look at the web page, it's come in as 5 little coloured blocks with a W, an L or a D for won, lost or drawn, but behind the scenes it's actually storing this information. It's storing a W and then some details, and then another W and some details, and then another W, and so on and so forth. So there's actually more information in that column than we need. There's obviously some clever formatting going on the web page just to extract the W, L or D and hide the rest of the data. And so that's pretty much what I want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this form column, and I'm going to first of all just grab the first character of the whole column, which is the W, D or L for the first match. So if I just do a right click on there, split column by number of characters and choose 1. And I only want to do it once. I don't want to do it repeatedly, otherwise I'd end up with lots and lots of columns, each one containing 1 character. So that gives us the W, and I'll call that one match 1. And then the next thing I want to do for this column is I want to do another split, but I want to split by full stop. Now obviously how you split is dependent on the data, but if you look at this, we've got 1-2-1 against West Ham on the 27th of February, then a full stop, and then the next WDL, and that is the same pattern for all of these. And if we did scroll across, if we did increase the width of this this column, you'd have exactly the same structure going all the way across. So if I do a right click, split column by delimiter, where's the split column by delimiter? And the delimiter is the full stop, and split at each occurrence of the full stop. What we've now got is, I can get rid of this one. So remove that one, but for this, and this column, I just want to grab the first character. I don't think it's going to let me do it all in one go. I think I'm going to have to do it column by column. So let's do it for this column. Right click. Now, I want to keep only the first character. So let's split column. No, actually, if I split column, I don't want to split the column because that will create a new column with all the rest of the data. What I want to do here is use a different instruction. And the instruction I want to use here is transform extract first character. And then do it again here. Now, will it let me do that on multiple columns to save a bit of time? Transform extract first character. Yes, it will. Okay, so there we go. So I've got, that's match 1, that's match 2, that is match 3, that is match 4, that is match 5. And for some reason we've got this extra column which we don't need, so I can right click and remove that. And then I will close the query editor. So file, close and load. That creates another sheet. So I don't need sheet 1, I'll delete sheet 1. So there's the data I've just created. Right, I'm going to rename these queries. So I'm just going to right click on the query name and rename it. And I'll just call that one query 1. And I'll call that one query 2. It's just more logical than what the queries were called before, which was based on the name of the website they came from. Now, I then need to combine these two tables together. All right, so what I'll do here is go to the query editor by going to Data, Get Data, Combine and Merge. Merge is when you want to pull together some columns from one table and some columns from another. So in this case, I want to pull together data from query 1 and query 2 using pos and pos as the common columns, and I'll ignore this privacy checking. Once I've done that, click on OK. And what it's done is it's shown me all the data from query 1, because that was the top table in that previous dialog box. But we've got this query 2. So query 2 is that second query, the one with the match 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By clicking on that double-headed arrow, I can get a list of all of the fields, all the columns from that table. But the only ones I want are match 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there's my 5 previous matches. And then once I've done that, I will close the query editor down, close and load. And then finally, I will select those and I will create some conditional formatting rules. So create a new rule, and the rule is going to be that if the cell contains, if it's got W, so 1, then it's going to have a fill of green. I'll go for that green. And if it has got a new rule, it's that one. So if the cell has specific text, so if it has an L, then it's going to be red. And one last conditional formatting rule. If it is a D for drawn, then it's going to be yellow. And then finally, I want to hide the actual W, D, and L. So I will use a custom format, which is 3 semicolons. And there we go. Oh, it seems to have lost the little arrows there, so I have to put those back. But you've seen how I do that. And in the interest of time, because we've got all those unboxings to do,
oh, sexy unboxings,
I will leave it there. So I hope that has been useful. That is how to create a league table with some stats combined from multiple websites.
Bless him. It's like league ladders.
League ladders, I remember.
League ladders.
Okay.
Okay. Right. If there's any questions, pop those in. Well, I switch back to that. Oh, it's time for formula in Notion, which could be good news or it could be bad news, depending on your opinion. In terms of what you think of Excel. Obviously, most of you love it, I'm sure. But if I mention formula, people think Excel. And very much Notion formula, not Excel. In terms of capability, although you can get very advanced in Notion, it's, you're not going to be doing your Power BI in there. But there is another reason why it's not Excel, and that's more fundamental in terms of how you're going to syntactically create the words that you need to calculate things. So as I said, maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, depending on how you feel about Excel. Okay, Notion formula. Right, I have we're going to build up from some simple things to something more advanced. So we're going to start with something basic, for which you're probably very happy. Right, so simple calculations. Let's get rid of that. We're not going to need that. Right, first thing to think about. Formula in Notion can only exist in a table. Is Johnny still awake?
I probably sent him to sleep.
I don't think Johnny's still awake, Tracy, no. But you never know.
Probably blew his mind.
Right, what I've got here, to be able to put a function into, or a formula into Notion, it has to go into a table. So if you're sitting looking at a page thinking, oh, I'll just put, like you would in Excel, there's a cell, I'll just put something in there. No, you won't. It's a data type. So when you go and you add a column and it defaults to text, then you have a whole other range of data types. It could be a number, a select, a multi-select, dates, people. And down here under advanced, it's got extra options, and one of them is formula. And that is the only way that you put a formula in. That's the holding location that formulas take in Notion. But that does mean that you can use the metadata, or as we tend to call it, the data above the fold, to calculate various things. So that's the first thing to think about. So I will choose formula there, and we now have a holding area. Oh, Dee's got a good idea. We should make Johnny compete with Lola instead to make it fair. But to be honest, she was asleep before we started. Had a very busy day.
Very busy person.
Right. So once you've got your column, it doesn't automatically say, oh, by the way, what would you like that formula to be? You have to go and type that in. Now, the very first thing that means that this is not Excel is in Excel, you would be able to say, okay, this cell here, which we will refer to as column Peter, would have a reference, wouldn't it? It would be B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, B5. That doesn't matter at all in Notion. There's no concept of that at all. It's a column-based approach. So I will define a formula and it will apply to the entire column. So I'm going to start off as basic as it could possibly be. First off, we'll call that formula, so we know that that's where we're calculating. Now, you go into it, and this is your formula editor, okay? Is there a way that you can put a formula in subscriptions to take into account monthly and yearly in one column, so you can see the total amount you're forking out? Yeah, we did that last week. Now, we didn't have it in one column, but we did use a very complicated calculation to calculate it, and that was what we got with it. So unless it's something different than that you want, yes, you can. But what I'm going to show you here is that this little editor that we've got, which is this bit here, this will pop up whenever you have a data type set up as formula and you try editing that. It will only ever let you put stuff in there when it's syntactically correct. So at the moment, the done is live, and down the bottom, it says, yeah, I'll accept that. The only problem is at the moment, we've not got anything in there. But it's very, very simple to just start putting something in. So if I was to say, okay, today is the 26th, so I'm going to put 26, I could actually press enter. Oh, in fact, it's not letting me. It did, and then it said no. No, I don't want that in there. 26, and press enter. And all I've done is put a constant in there. So in this column, that's what I mean when I say you define it once, and you will be able to reference all of this information. But at a very basic level, if you just put a calculation in there, it will just repeat it all down the page. I appreciate that's useless, but we need to look at this and learn the basics first. So 26, let's say we say plus, and we say 10. Now it's 36 all the way down, and you've done a formula. You've calculated it. So it can be incredibly simple. Obviously, it starts getting more complicated when you want to try and calculate and have the value in the formula column make rational sense for the other two. So that's if we add those together. We can also go in there and take it away. So your usual mathematical operators apply and work in the same way. So if we multiply 26 by 10, we get 260. And if we divide it, we'll get some silly figure, won't we? 2.6. So all your mathematical operators work, and they work in the same way as you would expect. Okay? So that's the basic building blocks that you will use in your formula. But we're going to come on to formula that are obviously more advanced than that. So let's look at the practical things. I mean, a lot of people, you can go off piste here and you can discuss all the technical terms and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you can't make Notion do what you want, there's not much point. So I'm going to look at really practical examples that will teach you the principles, but also you could take it away and apply it to your table and it would give you a useful extra column. So our formula at the moment, not brilliant, but let's say the first thing that we want to do, in fact, did you have some basics here? I did. Let's say that the first thing we want to do is add together the values from year 1 and year 2. So instead of typing that figure in, we need to refer to it in some kind of way. And as you know, the way Excel would do that is to say, well, it's column C and it's line 2. So if in here, this would be C2 and this would be D2. And we would say in Excel equals C2 plus D2. And that's it. So in essence, we just need to understand the language that Notion speaks to do exactly the same. So back in here, let's delete everything we've got because that's not going to work. But what we do have is a list of properties down here. And these properties, look at them, they are the columns in the table. We then have constants and we then have operators. We've seen the add, subtract, multiply, divide. There's a range of other ones. They go on and on and on. But we don't need much to make this work. So we need to say equals whatever is in the column year 1 plus whatever is in the column year 2. And that's it. So all we did was swap prop year 1 for the value of whatever we had it, 26, and prop year 2 for the value of 10. We've just swapped it. We've variabilized it. Now, although the top one's saying 28, it would not be saying 28 all the way down. So let's make sure it's not. And it's actually calculating. So we have 28, 38, 31. They are correct. So you've written your first formula. That's pretty simple, isn't it? And it works exactly the same way. So if we go back in and we edit that, and instead of the plus, we put in the multiply, and then have a look, it's multiplying it. So the only thing that you have to get right, let's click in here, it's faster. All right, the only thing you have to get right is the syntax in this line. Now, sometimes you will be tearing your hair out because you'll have like an extra character. You won't be able to press done. And at the bottom it says unexpected operator, or it could say various things. It is trying to help you. What it's saying is there is an unexpected character, so an operator, a character, and it's at position 32, which is like in this case at the end. And all you need to do is then delete that. So basically you need to make sure you've got an even number of brackets. I could, in here, put one at the end if I put one at the beginning. So the brackets in this case are actually optional. Sometimes they won't be. And then in there, instead of multiplying it, let's do the divide. And now as soon as I press enter, what it's doing is, because I'm hovered over here, it's putting that in. So I'm going to press done. And there's that answer, which is not great, is it? But you see the principle. The principle is there. In this situation, I probably would want to add those together. But that's the very basics of it. Now, the only thing to remember on top of that, when you're trying to think, why isn't this working? If we look at that plus operator in the middle, it's taking the value of year 1 and the value of year 2 and returning you a calculation. It's adding them together. Okay? But let's change that. Let's take that away and say, right, well, what if I put the first name and I wanted a plus and I put the last name? That's doing something wholly different. It's not correct. We'll come on to that. But what it's doing, the plus there, is taking the text from the first name, the text from the last name, and concatenating them. So the reason that it's giving you a number on that same basis, it's doing something different with year 1 and year 2. Because if it wasn't, in this formula column, you would have 1018. It would take the actual numbers, the literal numbers, and just put them together. And obviously, it's not doing that. It's adding them together. So what plus will do depends on the data type. So I'm going to get rid of that entirely and just have that as blank. These are numbers. You can tell that for a couple of reasons. It has the number symbol on the column, and in here it has a number format next to it, and you can format it. If we add another column, and this just happens to be a text column, so let's say we say this is going to be year 3, but this time you do that, it would be very easy to miss the fact that that's not a number. The little symbol is indicating it's not a number, that there's nothing to stop you typing in a number, and it looks fine. How can you tell? And the fact is here the number is left aligned, and in these two cases it's right aligned, which is indicating to you that it is a calculatable number. It's a real number. Notion is treating it as a number. So if you get some weirdness going on, make sure that your data types are correct. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the Notion formula. We've done the very simple ones. The next one is concatenating a name. So we have the same data. We have the first name and the last name. And what we want is the full name in one cell because it looks better. So in here, we'll just put name. It's going to be a calculation, so it needs to be a formula. And then it's really simple. We just need the first name and the last name, but we need something else, don't we? We need to make sure that there is a plus in between them to add them together, but we're missing a space and we have to put that in manually. So to make that work, let's get the first name and actually think through precisely what you would do if you were typing it. Oh, I would add speech mark, space, speech mark. So I have to put the text I'm typing in speech marks, and then what do you want? Then I want the surname. So add, and then you can either type this, so you can type in prop last name, or you can just click it. And you're good to go. And what it has done is taken the value of the first name field, the value that you typed in, the space, and then the value of the last name, and put that in that field. Why might you want to do that? Well, like I've said, one, it looks better. But you might then say, well, if it looks better, why would I type them in separately then? But that's because you may want to sort by last name. So if we go in and apply a sort to that, and we make it last name ascending, then our data looks totally different order. We've got the one that was at the bottom at the top. But we can still play around with this because we could hide some of these columns. Now, we can't hide the first name. That is because it is the click-through, what we call the click-through. But you can do that. And it's sorted by surname, even though it's not at the beginning of the text. So what we might have to think with this is maybe have a different click-through field. The click-through field is where you get the open button and you click on it. So may need to think about that. But the principle of the data works absolutely fine. For a mail merge, yep, you might want to export this data for a mail merge. You couldn't really do much with it in here in terms of mail merge, but yes, you could certainly export it as a mail merge. But just in terms in here of like I want to see it alphabetical, or I want to see it by date of birth, or I want to see it by something else. Okay, now that is one way of doing it. It's not the only way of doing it though. And depending on the data, you might need a different way of doing it purely for speed. So let's imagine in here where we've got the name, let's make another one. And we'll call this reference. It doesn't matter what we call it, but we're going to call it reference. And we'll make it a formula. Now, imagine at this point, you want to put something else with it. And it could be text or it could be anything. Right? So let's say we just want, how can we do this? I know, let's put the department. So if we add in department, and we want to concatenate all of that together. So in the department, we'll have some in sales, a couple in sales, a couple in marketing. We should probably have some in IT, shouldn't we? Let's have IT. more in marketing. Be right yet. Marketing. Oh, and should we have like the CEO? Let's have the CEO. Right. Let's say what you want in this reference is you may have multiple people with the same name. You need the reference to be unique. So let's assume that you've only got one person in each department with the same name. So what you actually need to do in here is say, right, I want their first name plus a space plus their second name. So we'll do that with the last name. And then you've got to add another space or whatever character you want. So let's say we'll put a space like that. And then we will add the department. Right. And OK that. And now we've got this. So if this was for badges or something, that would work. That would work nicely. But the more fields that you want to concatenate together, the more arduous it becomes. You need to go back and then you need to change things. So let's say for whatever reason, we want this, but with a dash between instead of a space. Darn it. That means we've got to go back and for every space in here, we have to take that out and we have to put a dash in it. Like that. Now, it's not that difficult with that many things. But it could be in the future, depending on how many you're trying to merge together. So instead of using this, which is just referring to the property, there is an alternative. So we'll delete that entirely and we will use a function called join. Join enables us at the beginning, the first argument that join takes is what's the separator. So if I put it's a space, comma, and what I'd like you to do is take the value of the first name, comma, and the value of the last name, comma, and the value of the department, and then I need one more bracket to finish that off, and then press enter. It looks exactly the same, so why bother? But if I go back into it and he thinks, yeah, the CEO's seen it now and now he wants a dash, then I can change that to a dash and it does the whole lot. Now he decides he doesn't want a dash, he wants an underscore. And this is why you do it this way, because it's so much easier to just do that. So one thing with Notion is you will find there are lots of different ways of working that may or may not give you different result. It will probably, well, in this case, gives you the same result. It just depends syntactically on what you're comfortable using. Most of the time it'll be, oh, it works, leave it alone. Okay. Right, so we've done a name. All right, next thing, we're calculating age. So this time we have the same people, but we are calculating an age. Now, Mike does that, don't you, in Excel? Many, many times. Right, it's not too difficult in here. So what we need, once we've got their date of birth, we need to add a column, because remember, a formula needs a column to live in. And we're going to rename that age, because that's what we're trying to calculate. How would you calculate an age? Obviously, you've got the date of birth, but there's one other date that you would need to know. What's that? You know this, don't you? He's looking a bit vacant, actually. Oh, you do know. Oh, never mind. I think it's too late for him, bless. Right, you need to compare their date of birth with what day and date it is today. It's that simple. So, to calculate that, well, first of all, we want to work out the date between. We need to know how many years, spot on, Sarah, you need today's date. How many years between today and when that person was born? And these things are pretty logical. Put the date in and between. You need to calculate the difference between two values that are going to be dates. So the date between, right, the date between what? Well, we've got to start off with, well, today. And the key word for that is now. So if we put now, you can pass now extra variables, but we don't need anything. We just need to know what year is it? Which is a question we've asked ourselves many times in the last year, isn't it? So you just need to know the year today. And then you need to give it a second argument, which is the date of birth. because that's what you're comparing it with. So we do that easily by clicking date of birth. Now, at the moment, we can't accept that, and it's screaming about parenthesis at the bottom. We've not finished yet, so hang on. We need to tell it what units we want returning, because sometimes we might need to know the days between some dates, like the number of days between your first vaccine and your second, like that. So we've got the dates between, but we don't want it in days, we want it in years. So comma to put another variable in, and this time we need it in years. Then count your brackets, and we've got an odd number of brackets. We've got 5 brackets. We need a bracket to close it off. And then accept it. And quick shufty at those tells me they're right, on account of the fact one of them's my birth year and I refuse to be drawn on which one. But they are correct. So you've worked out an age there. Now what I've done here at the bottom, I've just put the formula there. As you know, as I'm looking at it, that's the formula that I've used. There's no need to do that, but as a pro tip, if you are putting formula in tables, it's probably wise to document what you did with it, because I swear 20 minutes after you've done it, you'll forget what you did. And it'll be like, well, it worked. It did. And now you've got to go in and find it. And I just find it easier to work with a formula down there and have a look at it. In fact, I would probably type it in there because the other thing does my head in. You can copy from here and paste it into there and it will work, because this is very difficult to work with if you actually do know what you're doing. Obviously, you've got the benefit of being able to add quickly, but sometimes you want to look at that and think, is that actually right? So I've just put them underneath. So we've calculated age, but it's much more likely we're going to want to calculate things like tax. So I've got a tax one in here. We have some equipment. And there's a nasty tax rate. That's our VAT in the UK. Value added tax. Yeah, government are fleecing us for 20% of everything we buy. So I've ballparked some prices there for an iMac. Right, how am I going to calculate this? I need to know what the tax is going to be on top of that value. So the first thing I need is a column. And in there, I need to know the amount of the tax. So it needs to be a calculation, so make it a formula. And then we need to type something in it. Now, we actually have the 2 pieces of information that we need. Kim says, now you tell me about writing the formula below. It's just a little bit easier, and certainly for training purposes. I can actually open that and show you. I have these formula in Craft elsewhere, because obviously I need to see them as I'm typing them in, make sure that I've got my running order in the right order and that I can actually read them. And the good news is Craft will let me copy and paste them from Notion, and it just works, which is fantastic. But it's a good idea to do that, particularly when they get really complex. And they can get complex to the point of having like 60 lines, depending on what you're trying to do. I'm keeping it fairly basic at this level, but it can get more complicated. Okay, we've got what we need. We've got the price. So we're definitely going to need to do something with the price. If we multiply that by the tax rate, then that should tell us how much we're going to pay in tax. So multiply and then the actual tax rate. And okay. And that is what we would pay in tax. It's criminal, isn't it? Criminal, I tell you. Right. But first off, we need to format that. So we're going to format that as pounds. So yes, it's obscene. But we need to know the total. All we've got so far, we would have to manually eyeball that and then add it on. So we need another formula there. And this time, it's actually not a million miles away from the first formula. In fact, you could do this 2 ways. You could either calculate it, or you could add, just very simply say, take the price, take the tax, we're done. It doesn't matter. There's 2 different ways to do it. So the first way of doing it would be to click in here and say the price plus the tax, and we're done. And that's right. So that's one way of doing it. Kim thought it was bad at 9.7. We used to have a VAT rate of, I think it was 7.5% in the 70s, and it just skyrocketed since. And seen as though it's a European tax, I don't know why it's still there either, because we're Brexited, if you recall. The government haven't mentioned this. When we were Brexiting, I thought, oh, maybe we can get rid of VAT now. I should have known better. I should have done. But VAT, the original story was it's coming in, so it's to pay for Europe. Okay, so we can format that. So we'd need to format that for pounds as well. That's one way to do it. But if you want to do it another way, let's add another column. Total, different formula, so we know. Right, the other way to do it is very similar. I made that text, didn't I? Not a formula. Oh, naughty me. The other way to do it is actually fairly similar to this way, where we've got the price times the tax rate. So I could copy that and put that in here. What would make that correct? And what would make it correct is to go back to the beginning. In fact, we can do it there and add the original price. So the original price was there, and that too is correct. I'm not holding down the command key, that's the problem with it. And make that pounds, and we get exactly the same result. So different ways to achieve exactly the same things. Surely 900 is the amount claimed back from the government. Well, yes, if you're a business, but not if you're not. So there's many people, like we discussed last night with Anthony, that you may be able to get the VAT back or you may not. So some people can. We were talking last night about visually impaired people, that certain goods they can and certain goods they can't. So, but in a business, no, you would claim that back. But there's many people who are not in business and are giving the government £900 because they want an iMac, which is terrible. But that's adding stuff. That's calculating tax and adding it on. In a way, the reverse of that is, what if you get a discount? So we've got the iMac, the original price. We're not going to worry about the tax at this point. We've got a discount. Now, the first thing to think about with the discount is the discount a percentage or is it a flat amount? Now, the way Notion works, what if you are a business and you have two ways to discount, depending on who the customer is? Now, you can't put a percentage in a column and then a flat amount in the column as well, because you're setting the data type up at column level. There would be ways to do that. That would be an advanced session. If you want an advanced session, let me know. There would be ways to do that. But what I would say at this point is, when you're thinking about it, it's easier at this stage for the principals to go one way or the other. If the discount was a flat fee, £200, then all you would need to do is say the price minus the discount that's in the discount column. If it's like this, where it's a percentage, then you're going to have to do a little bit more of a calculation, but it's not that tricky. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing here. We want to know what that discount would be. So the discount amount we want in here, and we want that to be a formula. So to make this simple, we'll stick with what we've got. Okay. Right, what do we need to put in there? Well, we need the price. So we've put the price in there. And you need to multiply that. Good morning, Paul. You need to multiply that by the discount. And that, again, is £900. But remember, this is a discount this time. So what we want to see is when we go in here, so this for a start is pounds. We want to make sure, first of all, if that discount, let's say Apple are being generous, it goes up to 25% on that, that does calculate up, and it does. So far, so good. That gives us the discount amount. It does not give us the final cost. So if we add a column, final cost, again, that's going to need to be a formula. And in there, again, you've got two ways of working that out. The easiest way is to take the price and simply take the discount from it. Discount amount, hang on. We don't want to do that, do we? No, we want to take the discount amount from it. And there we go. So that is going to be the price that you finally pay. So we'll make that pounds, and again, you're good to go. Now, that example, as I say, you could make that more complicated. If you are about to have a dabble with that yourself, the way you would need to do it, you don't need one extra column with a flat amount for a discount. You're going to need 2 columns. And then you're going to need a conditional formula, which we haven't actually looked at yet. But we have got a conditional one coming up. Okay, so back over here. And this time we're doing something completely different. This time, this is something that I mentioned to you. So we can see all of this. I'm going to make that full width. Right. I discussed this when we talked about gallery views. And I said gallery views are great, but there's no labels on the data. So if you look underneath each one of those events, there's 3 dates. Which one's which? Now, if we go into it, you can see we have a delivery date, a review date, and a reminder date. So those are what's showing in here, but because there's no labels, I don't know which is which. Now, just to quickly show you, I've already done one. Here's one I did earlier. Then I'll show you how to do it. But I've got a label with a delivery date. Now, isn't that better? It's completely the same date as the top one, so that's clearly the delivery date. But I've even changed the format of it as well. So that's what we're aiming for. So we'll leave that alone as it is, because we're going to have to go into here and create it. So I've got one that's called label delivery. And there it is. So the next one I need is label. And I'm putting label at the beginning so I know that this is purely used for labeling purposes and nothing else. You don't click in this field to change the date. This is just for formatting purposes. And this one would be the review date. Obviously, the data type has to be a formula. And then you need to go in and write the formula. So what we need to do is pull some data together. We're going to need to concatenate some stuff. Luckily, the concat formula function is called concat. So that's easy enough. And open brackets. And then you need to tell it what you want to join together. Well, this is going to be the review date. So I need some text that I've actually typed in because this text doesn't exist yet. So that is the text that I want at the beginning of it. If you look at the line above, delivery date : space. And that's what I've just typed in, only this time it's review date : space. Then I need the next bit. So I put a comma between the first thing I'm adding and the second thing. And this time I need whatever is in the review date, but I'm going to need to format it. So we start with the word format date because we want to format a date. We need to give it 2 pieces of information. What date? And in this case, it's the review date, which is this one here. So format the date where the property is review date. And the last thing I need to tell it is what format, or what do you want it to look like. And I happen to know D gives me a single character for the date. I want the whole of the month, so I put in 4 times M. I want the whole of the year, so I put in 4 times Y. Then I need to make sure that they know that that is, okay, that's the format. So I'm closing that off with a speech mark. And then how many brackets do I need? And that depends on how many brackets are opened but not closed. So I have 1 closed bracket. I have 3 opening brackets. And that tells me I need 2 closing brackets at the end. And as soon as I do that, you can see we've now got review date 29th March 2021. We need to do that again. So I need to add another property. And this time it's the label. And it is, oh, it's midnight, so I'll have to shut that up or it'll start screaming. Right, it's a label for the reminder date. So label reminder, the type is formula, And it's so similar to the last one that actually just copy and paste it. So copy into there and paste. And I need to change two things. I need to change the label so it says reminder date. And where this says review, I need to make sure that that says reminder. And that's it. Simple as. So they are in there as labels. Now, I don't really need to see those in there because I've got them at the top. So this is like information I don't particularly need. But remember, they did add the ability to hide the property. So I can hide that and I can keep going through and hiding that one. And I'm going to hide 4 of them all together. So hide that, and don't particularly need to see the created time either. So I'm going to hide that. Which leaves me with just the information that I need to see at the top. That looks cool. Back here, no t-shirt. Because this is independent, you need to go into the properties and you toggle on and off what you want to see. And I don't want the delivery date, the reminder date and the review date where I don't know what any of them are. I want to see the delivery date, the reminder date and the review date where I can see what they are. So that's using formula to actually add information. So you've labelled stuff that without it, you would have no clue what it was. Now, if the property in there is like, owner or whatever, you can probably guess. But if you've got a data type that's the same, like dates, like that, you're going to have to pick which one you look at, because otherwise you're going to get confused. But if you use a formula instead, and I know it's 3 extra fields, but it makes that way more usable, because I do love the gallery view. I like things that I can see like that. Right, we've got one that takes it a little bit further. Oh, Sarah likes that. And Paul says hiding properties now makes more sense. There was a lot of people that had a lot of properties in there that they were using for filters and sorts and things, but that they just didn't need to see. And I'm talking acres of them. Like 3/4, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. So that was why they added it. Many times it doesn't make any sense, but there's an example of where it actually does, because you don't need to see that in any other view other than the gallery view. Okay, next one, last one, visual status. Right, we got some exam results. 34. I do remember that. I think it was chemistry, but then I didn't like chemistry. What I did like was TCP/IP, wasn't it? Got 100% on that. Couldn't believe it. Anyway, we've got some exam results. They're okay. But if you can imagine, you've got pages and pages of them, and you're going to need to, touch base with the ones that weren't doing so great. Wouldn't it be a whole lot easier if there was some colour coding? So a bit like the formatting that Mike does, the, what's it called? Conditional formatting. Well, it doesn't do that in terms of, magically, if this is 34, the entire line is going to flash green. No, it doesn't do that. But it's not bad. So I'm going into the properties and I'm turning on an extra property. This is a property that's a formula. And that's not bad, is it? Could live with that. So how do you do that? And that could mean anything. It could be an exam grade. It could be how far you are into a project. It could mean anything. In this case, I'm going to hook up the grade column to the result over here, and based on the result, show either green, red, or amber. So if I change this one here, let's say this one actually got 95, it will instantly go green. Maybe if it's less than 10, they should automatically be terminated and a cross go in there. We could do that. So let's get rid of that. We'll delete it because we're going to add it back. Right, so we will add that back as grade. It needs to be a formula, obviously. So we've done that. Now, what on earth do we need to put in here? Well, we did last week look at the if function. And that is what we need to start with here, because it's conditional. If I wanted to say, if there is a value in the exam result, that would mean that they'd sat the exam, then just make this green. Then that would be fairly simple. Right? It would be if the exam result isn't null, then put something in here. But you'd still need the if. So the if is what we're starting with. If. And when you do that, you start with an open bracket, just like Excel. Okay, if what? And this is where with this one, it might be an idea to sit down with a piece of paper and work it out first. But in essence, if the result is less than 40, they've failed. So if what is less than 40? If the exam result is less than 40. So let's add if the exam result. Then we need is less than or equal to 40. So I've got the less than or equal to. Now, can I put 40% in? This might trip you up as well. A percentage is expressed as 0 point something. So if it's less than 0.4. So if it's less than 40%, only it's expressed that way. Then I want you to do something. So, comma, I would like you to do something. And the something that I would like you to do is put something in that cell. And the something I would like you to put in is the red dot. And I will put a closing speech mark on the other side of the red dot. Okay, we could at that point close that and apply it. Oh, it doesn't like it. It doesn't like it. Hang on. If it's we need to what to do if it doesn't, if it's not less than 40. So if I just do that and put an X in it, and we OK that, we can check at this stage that first query, that first question, is it less than 40, is working. It's putting a red dot in it. OK, so far so good. Instead of closing it at that point, we need to say, though, I don't want you to put an X in. So we need to take away the X. What do I want you to do next? And the next would be, well, if the easiest way to do this is if it's greater than 80, then they pass with flying colours. Okay, we can do that. If the exam result is greater than or equal to 0.80, then, so comma, speech mark, I would like a green dot. Under there is the green dot. Close the speech mark. Close, well, add another one, which is what to do if it's not. And this is why you don't need 3, because it's either less than 40, more than 80, or something else. And something else, I just want it to be yellow. So I just put in there yellow. And because I've used it, yellow is there. Close the speech mark and then work out how many brackets I need. And the brackets that I need are 2. In fact, it doesn't like that. What's going on there? Is it 2 or is it 1? Do the arguments in function if. Hang on. If property exam result. Oh, hang on. No, is that, then do that. What have I missed out here? 40. We know it's all right up to there. So it's from here onwards that we've got an issue. If prop exam result is greater than or equal to, that's the same, comma, then make it green, otherwise make it amber. And according to that, that should work, because it worked in the other one. It doesn't like it, and I don't know where character 76 is. This is what I'm saying about trying to troubleshoot it. You are probably screaming at me at this point. Right, what I would say with that is, in fact, what I will do, luckily I have the formula under here, don't I? And we know this works. So I will show you some troubleshooting. There's something extra somewhere that it doesn't like. It looks like a space. We have in here no space, but we have a space before the F. So if we take that out, that's what we've copied in. That's okay up to now. I think it's the spacing it's complaining about and nothing else. So this top one was the one that we had in there. So I will get back in here and see if it likes that any better than it liked the last one. No, it doesn't. What's the matter with you? Come on. This definitely worked. I know it did. There you go. See, it likes that. I've probably just put a comma in the wrong place. There we go. And it works. So if you go through and you change these, so Catherine didn't do very well. Yeah, 25%. Then the grade changes. There was a bracket before the prop was. I totally missed that. You go blind when you're doing a demo. You're like, everything's right, then no, it's not. But there you go. So that one is a conditional. Now, the conditional is what you could use to turn the other one into calculating any kind of discount you want, whether you want a percentage discount or whether you want any kind of discount. But you would need to have 3 columns. Okay, so any questions on that? If there is, pop them in there. Other than that, we need to shift mode, don't we, Mike?
We do.
We do. So we need to shift into unboxing mode. It's so much easier for you to see it because I'm 3 hours into a demo and I've gone blind.
I couldn't see it either.
It lined up. That was the thing. Never mind. Right, I'm going to move things on the desk. Are we starting with you or are we starting with me?
Don't mind.
Right,
Toss a coin.
Grab hold of that. Tell you what, I'll get mine out of the way first. There we are. So I've got my iPad there, along with a very long cable that's totally in the way, which we'll get out of the way. I'll push magic buttons over here. So all of that's working. And have you got my unboxing that I'm supposed to be unboxing?
It's down there, isn't it?
Oh, it is, isn't it? Right, I left it to hand because I'm going to have to move and let you take over, aren't I?
Am I taking over?
Well, unless you're going to come over and sit next to me, yes. Right, let's see if you can see my desk. That would be a start. Oh, you can. It's probably filthy as well, but we have an item. This was on offer yesterday and mine had broken. So it was a replacement for something that had broken. Hopefully it will work and it will work well. What?
It's got your name on it.
No. Well, where's yours? Right, okay, there's mine. Let's get into it. Okay, let's lose this. I have very many USB 3 hubs, etc. But one broke. So I thought I'll fix that later. And then it was like, well, I'll replace it. And the issue I had with it, so I have a gander at that, was they're really expensive. This one, they could be up to like £80 odd. This one was reduced from about 60 to about 30 something. The thing that appealed to me was each one's got an individual on-off switch, which is pretty cool. So I thought I'd give it a go. So let's have a look at it. Ooh, does it smell like new Mac? No, they never smell like new Mac, do they? So let's have a look what we've got there. Now that's quite neat, that, and it's metal. So hopefully you can see that. Let's have a look inside. Though I did have one that was very chunky. That is really neat. By comparison to the one I had, let's get the plastic off it. That is probably about a third of the size. Maybe even less. So the plan is that that's going in. Some of these are pushed in and some aren't. There we go. Now they're all the same. It's metal. And it's got 10 ports on it. At this end, I do find that a bit of a weird end. It's the big square thing that I think I've only got on my scanner. And it was the one that you had and we needed to replace it with something. And it was like, no, I don't have one of those. I don't have any spares of those. And the other is the power there, which I presume is in the box. So let's have a look at the box. Here's the cable. Make sure that you can see that. There we go. And what sort of power supply have we got? Have you noticed all the power supplies from the same company? And they're all completely bland. So before that gets installed, it will be labelled to within an inch of its life. It will have a label right across there and it will have labels on both sides. Because I guarantee you, when I'm scrolling under the desk trying to sort things out, it'll be like, what's this? No idea. So everything, nothing gets put in without a label. So that was mine. That feels very nice. It's got rubber feet on the bottom. It's a lovely space grey colour. Could do without the brand on the front, however. And it's also got some kind of, there's a silver bit here. And it's covered in some kind of peel-off plastic. So I'll peel that off once I've got it installed. But I'm hoping that will fare better than the last one did, which I think exploded. Let's just say it didn't come back to life when I put the new Mac in. I installed the new Mac, plugged everything in, turned it on, and everything that was on that hub was dead. So I'm hoping for better things from this one. But I've probably just got too many devices, haven't I? But that was my toy. Are you going to explain your toys now? So let me get my toys out of the way.
I've got 3 toys. I don't know what's in what box.
This could get very, very dangerous.
No, but you see,
pop that over there.
I can't.
You can't what?
I can't.
Think straight.
No, I can't think straight. No, I can't explain the logic behind it by just unboxing one.
Oh, right. Get that lot out of the way and give me yours, and I'll tell
Do
you.
you want to unbox?
No, I'll tell you what's in them. Crying out loud, Mike. Right, which one? Right. Does that make any sense without the other one?
Yeah.
Right. So you're starting with that one?
Yeah, we'll start with that.
Right. I'll move. You've just got to make sure that everything is lined up over there so people can see and talk to that microphone there.
Where are you moving?
I'm moving over there out of the way.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise they won't hear you, will they?
Right. Right. So, I have 3 toys. The first toy is a USB headset. Where's the camera? There's the camera. So USB headset. I'll explain the logic behind it in a minute, but you need to see.
You could make it a quiz question.
You need to see all 3 for it to make any sense.
Then it's a quiz question.
Is it a quiz question? And
It's a quiz question, Mike.
Is that like a Brooklyn's 196 quiz question?
But there's a connection between these 3 items.
Yeah, it's a tenuous
You've got to guess
one.
what it is.
And the second one, wouldn't it be funny if they only had one and it's gone missing?
No, it wouldn't. Not at this stage, Mike. No.
That's right. Oh, no,
He's bought some airbags.
Both things are in here. The other thing is a USB wireless mouse thingy.
Have you got the connection yet?
Do you know what it is? Yeah. And the third one is
Scissors next to you.
oh, no, it's okay. The third one is a charger for a laptop.
So what's the connection
So what's the
between the
connection?
3?
Yeah. I'll tell you what the connection is. The connection is it's toys for work. Because although I've got a mouse and I've got a charger for the laptop and I've got a wireless headset, the wireless headset stopped working because I think, well, it didn't stop working, but it went a bit funny because the USB end got either trodden on or...
Done that myself.
What?
You can fix it with a screwdriver.
Oh, I did.
Ask me how I know that.
I fixed it with a pair of scissors. So now it works properly, but occasionally it doesn't work. And I have to say to my delegates, can you still hear me? But no, apart from the fact that my USB headset broke, I normally work in the studio, but occasionally you want to use the studio. Mm-hmm. So I come in here and work, and rather than trekking all my gear
You can't
between...
see your power supply, but your power supply.
There's a power supply. It's not very exciting, it's just a power supply.
Is it a cloverleaf?
It's cloverleaf, yeah. I'm sure you've seen them before. Yeah, rather than trekking everything between the 2 rooms, my plan is to is to leave one set in each room.
Have a docking station.
Yeah.
Whose idea was that?
Yours.
Full of good ideas.
The other thing I've got is, and it's downstairs decoviding, otherwise I could have opened that, is another cable for the USB monitor.
So basically, it's a kit to make you more mobile.
Yeah.
A docking station
So
kit.
there we go. That is
And the other reason is, you know, you might as well. You can't ask at work for another power supply until the old one's broken, because you know you've got to send it back.
Well, I blew the last one up, didn't I?
Yeah. So you've already had one replacement, but it's too late to get a power supply replacement that takes 3 days to arrive when the power supply is actually broken.
Yeah, because
so if you've got a spare one,
then I'd have to go into work and pick it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Yeah.
No.
So there you go. There's my toys.
Right, let me get those out of the way, and if I go past, I'll just look at my desk while I go past and fish an item out of here. Right, where are we? There we are. And there's some of these. Okay. Right, Kim wanted to know what labeler I use. I'm bringing my labeler on. It is a Dymo Letra tag. There it is. It's not QWERTY. It's one of the ABC things. Drives me insane, the keyboard. But it works brilliantly. It takes these little cartridges that look like this. So that one is a yellow one. I'm guessing the other one's yellow. I usually glue them together. Yeah, the other one's yellow. So they're together. So I've got yellow tags. I've got white tags. That's a white one, white plastic. These were quite expensive, but these are replacement ones. So these are Dymo. You can see the Dymo on it here. This one was a cheaper replacement. And actually it's better because the labels aren't so thick, so they don't peel off as easily. So I've got one of these and I've got a spare just in case. So it doesn't work off the mains, it only works on batteries. Takes 4 AA batteries. And everything gets labelled. Literally everything gets labelled. One good feature of this one is, if I can turn it on and show you, can you see the screen on that? There you go. That's 8 terabyte, oh something. 02 is it? It's got a memory on it. So you can actually, you get it there, you can actually bring up and then go up and down a list of saved items. There. So hopefully that's going up and down the saved items. So if there's, I put like, you know, photography transfer drives. So it's names for things that I use quite a bit. Although why I've got one in there for 2009, I have no idea. No idea at all. But yeah, that's the labeler that I use. I think we unboxed a case for it not long ago. And the rationale was, you know, I could put this in a case, I could put some of these with it, so I've got all the different colours with it, and then cart it around the house because everything's labelled. You know, the kettle is labelled, everything is labelled. You'll thank me when you're in a rush and you're trying to unplug something. So yeah, that everything is labelled. The hard drives are labelled, actually on the hard drive, not just the power supply, the hard drives are actually labelled. Can you pass me that drive there? The one next to the book. With the label on. Yes. Right, give me that. So every drive, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, that's dusty. Right, there's a drive, a dusty drive, that's a Seagate, and that's what it looks like actually on it. So it is drive number 65, which is the yellow bit, then what it is, so it's my Documents Backup OneDrive, and that sits on a shelf like that, where this is the front of the shelf. So in addition to having it there, quite big, it also has it there, so I can see it when it's lined up with its brethren. And there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's 12 of these lined up on the shelf next to each other. So to have these little labels at the bit here is good to see them. And I do have them where the power supply and the cable goes in the front, not the back, because this rack of drives that I've got, they're not all on at the same time. So they share power supplies. Otherwise, I could flip it round and then I would have that down here. But this, I could put these, they're all different types of drives. So sometimes you'll find these along the side as well. I haven't bothered with that one. Made sense with that one. This was the most important thing that I could see it. The reference on it never changes. The yellow bit never changes. So every drive that comes in just gets the next number. And I never worry about that. It's just a unique reference. Because sometimes you will change the name of a drive and then think which drive was this. So the name never changes, and that is in a system in Notion to track it as well. So there's just a shelf full of these, acres of them. And 2 new ones that are acting up that I need to sort out. But yeah, that's what it looks like when I've done with it. And I tend to leave it at that size. So, you know, the visually challenged, as you get older, can actually read them. And I keep it that size on the plug as well. So I've got 2 new plugs this week that need to be done, but I've made it a rule with myself that I never ever install anything without labelling it, because you'll say to yourself, oh, I'll label that later. And you know what? You won't. And the first time you will realise that, that would be when you need it. So, yeah, there you go. That's the labeler. And all our new toys. So Mike is now potentially mobile between offices without dragging cables behind him.
Yeah, and it didn't cost me anything either.
Well, the thing is that, like...
It got paid for by my, not bonus money.
It's like a gift then,
My well done money.
Well done money.
Well done money.
You achieved something. But you know, half the damage with the headphones and the power cable is dragging it around. So if it's just sat there like a docking station, it probably lasts forever. Or that's the plan anyway. So, hope you enjoyed that. Right, let's whip back into there. That's a bit strange. Why is that happening? Ah, that's better. Now my keyboard's acting up. There's always one thing or another, isn't there? Right, are you going to move for me? Right, I have got a picture of mine. I don't think Mike's got a picture of his. But, yeah, that was from Amazon. It was on sale yesterday. I've not tried the brand, so I don't know. But it feels nice. I like them to be metal, because if they're plastic, they just seem to get hotter and hotter. Whereas with the metal ones, you know, you can actually put that on legs and it will get a little bit cooler. So, hopefully I'll be able to get all my USB devices back, because at the moment I'm a little bit short on USB devices. When I plug my backup drive in, I have to unplug something else. We're at that stage. So hopefully when I get this installed, we will be beyond that stage. So I think today it's about £40, something like that. So there's still a little bit of money off it, just not as much as there was yesterday. But it was they've got a spring sale on Amazon, so things are on for like 15 minutes and then they're gone. But if you want to have a look at it, I'll let you know next week how it behaved when I tried it. So what have we got coming up? Well, we have next week, Good Friday next week. But we will still be here at 9 o'clock. Notice, British summertime. Our clocks change this weekend, which means it's as you were. So for the last 2 weeks with chaos of what time is it, forget that now, back as you were. And the next time we'll have Do Not Copy and Paste Week is October-ish. And how many weeks is it in October, Mike?
No idea.
Just tell us it's the one. Just the one. That would be good. Because it's chaotic when it's 3 weeks. You get used to it and then you change again.
I think it's one.
So we're going to lose an hour's sleep on Sunday, which is not good. Don't like that. Particularly because it's Mad March, which means we'll be there at 3 o'clock. The new 3 o'clock. And this time we're looking at mastering master pages in Affinity Publisher. So it is 3 o'clock UK, which is 7 a.m. Pacific and 10 a.m. Eastern. The following week, which is actually Easter Sunday, isn't it? We've got Adobe Bridge. All of the others that we have done are available on demand. So there was the export persona, and there was blend modes, and creative tables. And I mentioned before, I expected the blend modes to be the most popular, followed by the export persona, followed by tables. No. Tables is racing ahead. I can only assume there's nothing out there on tables. People need to know about tables. All of the stuff that we do is available on demand. You will find that at youtube.com/ElaineGiles. We also have the After Hours playlist. So if you need to catch up on anything, check out the After Hours playlist on YouTube. You can get there easiest by putting macbites.co.uk/After Hours playlist. We are, of course, still marooned at MacBites headquarters. And, more importantly, the feed, bang up to date. Only need to do tonight's. It's a miracle. It is a miracle. You can listen to that on any podcatcher or your RSS feed reader. You will need the link, which is in text at the bottom, and that is the QR code for it. And all of that fun we've been having on MacBites FM. So, we love you guys. If you love us, could you give us a thumbs up? Because it really makes a difference to the algorithm that YouTube goes mad with every now and then. the things that happen with the algorithm. It's like, why are you recommending me that? What did I watch this week? I didn't watch something, and I got recommended something, and I wish I could remember what it was, because I'm like, why would I be watching that? And I literally tried to think, what have I watched? They're supposed to do it based on what people have liked, what people have commented on, things like that. Comments are very, very important. And I don't tend to get many comments. I don't know why. But when I do get comments, they're nice comments. So thank you very much if you put a comment on a video. Right, if you want to know everything that we do and get special links. This week I sent out links where everything was linked up to just the precise part of the video, so you don't have to wade through the whole lot. Then you need to go to elainegiles.com/VIP. We also have the MacBites mail at macbites.co.uk/MacBitesmail. Do you know, Mike, it's going to be April next week, which means I'll need to think about the Advent promotion. This is scary. It feels like yesterday. I was sorting out last year's and the years before. But I'm going to have to start thinking about it. We do like to think about that early. And of course, we are on Slack, carrying on the conversation. So do join us at macbites.co.uk/Slack. You can join, but it's totally free. And we do have a great time on there. Has Kim called it?
She has.
Oh, Jonathan. I know you'll catch up, Jonathan. Poor boy. Poor boy. Right, so we'll go to there and we'll go to there and we'll do that. It's a good job Kim doubled his points at the beginning of the year, isn't it? Which she actually did. Right, let's go into there and push some magic buttons and see what happens. Oh, magic buttons, not happening. There we go. Hey, that's double figures, Jonathan. But I know you're going to catch it back. I know. Because now the clocks have changed and everything. It'll be fine. It will. It will be absolutely fine. Right, I'm making it so I can see the chat. So if you've got any questions on that. Good night, Renee. Kim loves the links. Well, if you've watched it and you think, I want to go over that bit again, it's just easier, isn't it? They are on YouTube as well. But, putting them in the email means you only have to click. Oh, now Peter's got the same hub and it works great. Awesome. I am going to look forward to trying that, but I've got to get that on there. Much better to be marooned at MacBites headquarters than stuck in the Suez Canal. That's shocking. That really is so shocking. Right. Thank you very much for all of the lovely comments. Thank you. Glad you made it, Paul. You could tag team that with Johnny. Johnny did the first bit, you did the second. Just have to get together and sort it all out. It'll be fine. Right, okay then. Well, we've got a hugely busy day tomorrow. It's the first birthday of By Request. So we've got party time to have tomorrow night. So the theme is anything goes. We want upbeat party songs, which was pretty much how we started last year, wasn't it, Mike?
It was.
I'm going to have to find out what was the first song we played. What did we go into?
Can't remember.
No, neither can I. I'll have to find out. I will make that a top priority to find out. But let's get back on here with that and that. So if you want to contact us, there's the ways to contact us. We have had lots of emails this week. It's all about craft. So for a fact, next week we will be focusing on the mobile side of craft, which is fabulous. I will not forget that, Tracy. I won't. We've got that on the calendar, haven't we? I will not forget that. This could be quite terrifying for me, though. Mind you, if I like it and think, oh yes, I can do that, then I might turn into Fanny Craddock. Who knows? In fact, Fanny Craddock, how old is that? Quite old. That was probably the last time I watched one of these cookery programmes on the TV. Oh, that and the Galloping Gourmet. I do remember the Galloping Gourmet. Oh, wasn't he creepy? He was kind of very suave. Yeah, put me right off. He would pick somebody out of the audience to come and eat the food. And I remember thinking as a kid, I wouldn't want to do that. But there you go. That's just me. We know. I'm a bit on the strange side. Don't all agree at once. Right, okay then. So I am going to say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. In the meanwhile, stay safe, guys.